Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture and gaming news and TV and movie reviews. And as you know from the past few weeks, so much of even our entertainment coverage and things that we usually talk about, it's really hard to ignore the lead in to the elections that we're currently in, the lead up to that big day. And because it's something that's so central to pop culture, we are doing some coverage of it, and there's certainly a lot going on with it. How's it going, Professor? But this is by the way, this is my co-host, Professor R2. How's it going?
I'm doing well, thanks. Finally seem to have shaken this cold, so I'm doing much better.
That's great. And then it says you voted early. That's great. Uh,
Yes, I did. Yep, got
I
out and
think you.
took care. I knew that the day the day of was going to be a pretty busy one for me, so I made sure to get out and take care of it in advance. So yeah.
That's fair enough. So, so much has been going on. First of all, we had the whole situation where uh, Kamala was considering going on Joe Rogan, but that somehow didn't happen. Then somehow Trump swoops in. He does a full 3 hours with him. Have you watched that?
I did watch the whole thing. I thought it was really interesting. Not that I wouldn't say it was any different from what I had assumed it would be. It was Joe Rogan and Donald Trump just sitting and talking for 3 hours. But anybody who tries to say, "Oh, he's this old man and he can't do this anymore," whatever, he sat and he talked. He didn't get a drink of water. He didn't get up to use the bathroom. Like 3 solid hours of sitting just jawing with him the whole time, just talking with Joe. And yeah, I mean, it went. I thought it went really well for him. I thought, I think there's a lot of people that may listen to or focus on more mainstream coverage that maybe saw a very different side of Trump than they've seen before.
I actually was somewhat surprised by it because he was very relaxed. I wasn't fully surprised, but I think that he performed above expectations. And I even saw people that are critics of Trump that don't like him that were sitting and saying, you know what, we have to be honest. He was there for 3 hours and he did what he needed to do. He spoke with Joe Rogan. He seemed like he wasn't. He didn't seem dumb. He seemed like everything that Joe Rogan was talking with him about. He had a sort of pretty decent way of addressing it or talking about it. It was better than I thought it would be. I thought to myself, well, if you put him for 3 hours, you don't know what you're going to get sometimes because, Trump could go in a lot of different directions, and Joe Rogan is very kind of, aggressive sometimes or in your
Yeah,
face about things that he wants to talk about. And somehow the thing worked. It actually flowed, and I thought that forget about politics. Forget about if you like this guy or that guy. If he had a certain job that he wanted to do, Trump, in those 3 hours, I think he accomplished it. I think it was this guy. I don't know if they're called the Young Turks, or I don't even know if there was a guy there that he was basically he looked like he was gonna he was semi having a meltdown, but while he was having a meltdown, he was saying that he has to admit that Trump actually did well on the podcast, and that it's a big mistake that Kamala wasn't there. And
yeah.
I tend to agree. Then you have another situation that basically, what turns out today that Rogan wrote this. Let me see if I can pull up this tweet because it was a very interesting tweet. Did you see what he said today?
This was about the issues on YouTube.
Well, there were a few different things that were of
Yeah.
interest, but let me see if I can find the exact tweet.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
I know that while you're pulling that up, there were a number of issues over the weekend that people were, complaining about with YouTube. Basically, you would go look for Joe Rogan Trump, and you would not find this video. Not only that, it was one of the most watched videos over the weekend, and it was never landing anywhere in like trending stuff. It wasn't getting recommended. It was conspicuously absent given how much interest there was in seeing this video. So
yeah, I was.
it was kind of fascinating how it seemed to be sort of uh, well, its reach seems to have been a little impacted, and YouTube claims that it was because there were a bunch of uh, reports, like it had gotten like mass reported, and somehow that was preventing them from being able to, share it, and it was just, impeding people's ability to find it. But of course, nobody knows better than YouTube how this algorithm works. When you can bury things, if they can, if someone can hit you, Price, with a DMCA takedown or something for a day or two, then you might just get kicked completely off the podcast and disappear. Uh, if somebody can hit you with some sort of a DMCA or something and your video comes down, then over, that first 24, 48 hours, all of those views that were going to be there all just vaporize, right? And so
Right.
you really, really impact that video by not showing it to people during those first couple of days. So having that sort of hidden for the first few days, it wasn't completely gone. I mean, if you knew where you were going, you could go to Joe Rogan's podcast. You could, on his channel on YouTube, you could find it. I mean, I got the notification immediately when it was first published, and I watched a little bit of it. I mean, dadgum, this was 3 solid hours. I had to solid
I don't know.
hours of this. So I had to watch like an hour here and, half an hour there
I
and then
actually
kind of
sped it
wrap
up a
it
bit.
up.
I sped it up a bit and watched it.
Yeah.
It was fine. I mean, I understand that probably the best experience is not to speed it up, but I did have a lot of things to do. I watched it in maybe 1.5 speed or something like that,
Yeah.
which was perfectly fine. It didn't cause me to not understand what they were saying or talking about. I think it was fine, but I agree. I can imagine that perhaps uh, some people wouldn't want this video to be seen by everybody. I would think, on the one hand, I would think that YouTube would want the press, but you never know. YouTube is owned by Google. You never know with these companies exactly how it all works out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even so, it has 37 million people watching it on. It already has like 37 million views
Yeah.
on
And
YouTube.
that's just the views that it's gotten on YouTube. That is not now all the views that it's gotten on X, which has been considerable. And all of the listeners that subscribe and listen to the podcast
Spotify,
through
yeah.
Spotify. So there's a lot of people who have heard
There's
and listened to
probably,
this
I'd say, at
podcast.
least like 50, 60 million people that watch this thing. That's a
Very,
lot of
very
people to
likely.
watch.
Yeah.
I assume that at least many of them are American. I'm not saying they all have to be, but I'm sure there's a lot of American people that did that. And yeah, I think overall, objectively, it doesn't matter now that the politics of it. When I looked at this as a sort of test that Trump had to go through, that he had to deliver something here, I think he did fine.
Yeah.
I like I said, I was pleasantly surprised because Trump, he has his strengths and weaknesses. I
Sure.
myself, I always tell you that I don't love politicians and I'm not so excited about elections as some people may be, but I try to look at things kind of from the side objectively, or not from the side, but at least I try to really look and evaluate how each candidate is doing. When Kamala Harris was doing pretty okay in that debate against Trump, I
Mhm.
said that she didn't say anything of substance, but she got under his skin, which was her main goal, and she
Yeah.
actually kind of succeeded in that. This is a different situation. This is a situation that she could have been here talking with Rogan, but instead, Trump ended up taking up this spot, and he sat there for 3 hours and really delivered, I think, or as
Yeah.
best as he could. At the same time, she seems like a person that can't sit with anybody to have a conversation for more than 3 minutes. She can't talk off the cuff. Uh, Everybody needs to manage her and manage her questions and answers in a way that feels weird. I mean, if you want to be the president, you need to be able to be a little more, relaxed and have a conversation, especially in our day and age. And it somehow ended up that I think this was a huge strength for Trump, where her not showing up here was a weakness. Then
Mhm.
it even shows that Joe Rogan here. I don't know. Can you see it?
Yeah, basically, Joe has said he came out to say that they have made numerous connections, tried to make connections with Kamala's, people with the campaign to get her to come on. They had some sort of agreement. Yes, she would do it. But then they said, well, we could do it on Tuesday, but you're going to have to fly to us. So they wouldn't be doing it in his studio. And then they were going to limit it to an hour. So for him, he's like, you're going to make me pick up and leave my show, leave whatever else.
Why? Who does she
I
think
had
she
to
is?
do.
He's the #1 podcaster in the world. He can get you access to tens of millions, if not 50 million people. Why don't you just show up and do what you're supposed to do? What? At the first time in the history of his show, he's going to have to fly out. And the other thing is that if they would have done that, what would have happened was, and he didn't say that because actually I thought he was being classy. They would put him in a room and say she's going to be here shortly. Out of the hour, they'd waste some time like they did with Fox News. They'd bring her in after 15 minutes, try to control the environment, and try to also get her out early. At the end, he'd be left with like a 5-minute conversation that they're trying to control the narrative and the conversation and everything. And they'd also try to sort of create a situation where he's not in his comfort zone, kind of taking him out of his home turf to kind of confuse him. I don't think that's necessary. He has his own thing going. You want to be there, you play the game. You don't, then don't. When in Rome, do as the Romans, or whatever you want to say.
But, and I'm glad that he came out with that clarification, basically saying, you know what, we're still trying. We would still love to connect with her, but they're putting all these conditions on it, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fly out. I'm not going to only give her an hour. All of that stuff, right? Like, we have a format. There's a way that we do things, and we're just going to stick with that. I'm fascinated that after what appears to have been a very, very successful talk with Donald Trump, that she was not anxious to get on that show. I would think that the very humanizing, very open, just sort of, honestly, sometimes it was a rambling conversation. They were just talking about whatever, right? Oh, fighters and whatever. It's like, okay, sure. But that if that's what they want for her, that they would try and get her out to that venue, whatever the cost. And so, it is what it is. Their campaign is doing things the way they want to do, but it seems very, very strange that they would still try to keep her out of this. I see a wild Sean Crummell has appeared.
How you doing?
Hey.
I think she would talk her. She would very easily talk you out of wanting to vote for you or vote for her if you wanted.
Well, I wonder, right? I do. I wonder if she would just convince you during that hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, that maybe she's not the right way to go. But I don't know. I honestly, I have no problem with with Joe having these conversations with people like this. It clearly it looks like now he's gonna have JD Vance is gonna be on there tomorrow, sounds like, and again probably just gonna have another 3-hour just conversation, just talking about whatever comes up, right? Joe brought up a number of different topics with Trump, and sometimes Trump would talk about him, sometimes he'd dance around him like he does, and then he'd weave, as he liked to talk about. He'd weave, right? But it's really interesting. Actually, I was listening to someone the other day, and they were talking about this, and a number of people think that this is really part of how he negotiates. It's part of his negotiating tactic. It's part of how he does business with people. Like when he's sitting down to talk to somebody about, you want this price on something, or you want to negotiate for this price on this product, that he never confronts it head on. You always kind of backtrack and talk about something else and kind of maneuver around it, and then eventually kind of weave your way around to come back to it, so that by the time you get there, like, you kind of have disarmed the plans that the other people had.
You know what? He's a schmoozer. He's a schmoozer. If nothing else,
this is true. Yeah.
If nothing else, this guy's been hanging around. When it comes to building buildings or doing whatever, he's throughout, before becoming a politician, just getting all these projects off the ground and doing all the kind of business he does. you can say whatever you want about him, but he has a certain charm. He knows how to sit with a person and kind of shoot the breeze. That's not something that everybody feels comfortable doing. He knows how to schmooze, and he knows how to also kind of what you were saying, weave, whatever you want to call it, but kind of beating around the bush or whatever he needs to do. But he does it in a way that's kind of friendly, and he's good at it. I mean, he showed in this conversation he was able to somehow seemingly address at least some of the things Joe Rogan said. And when he didn't want to answer, he did his spinning, but he did it nicely. And that's also a gift that you need to have. With Harris, I feel like until now, every interview, and this is just objective, every interview doesn't go well for her. People say, oh, she's dumb. And I'll say something else. I don't know if she's dumb or not. I don't know her personally, but I will say this. Maybe she was some kind of lawyer that anytime she said something, it was all kind of scripted. She knows there's a few things she could say. It's very kind of written for her. A team of people preparing notes, preparing things to say that were very kind of cut and dry. Sometimes you may have that understanding, but that doesn't mean you can sit in a room and schmooze with somebody for hours.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a gift. I don't know if we have a gift, but I'm saying we sit around, we talk, we're kind of, we shoot the breeze. I don't know if it's a gift. Maybe that was a bit generous in the way
I will say, honestly, having watched her, and I've watched a few of her different events. I've watched her quote unquote interviews, with some of them surprisingly softball questions that she just manages to totally fumble. I don't know, but I've watched a few of her things, and I honestly think she has some pretty severe anxiety being in those situations, being the center of attention, being
she's not
on
used
stage.
to it. She's not a celebrity.
No.
He was a celebrity, like it or not. You may hate the guy. This guy, today I was looking at something. I don't know. I guess when they show the movie Home Alone 2 in Canada, Justin Trudeau has forced them to edit out Donald Trump out of the movie and things like that. But forget about all that stuff. What I'm saying is he used to be a guy that's sort of such a known celebrity type that in the middle of a show, he'd just appear and everybody would be like clapping. Oh, it's Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's been in the public eye since, the 80s.
Yeah, and he used to go, and this is something that Joe Rogan brought up. He used to go on shows, and all these same shows that hate him now, the ones that, these TV personalities that still exist, they used to all roll out the red carpet for him and clap and hug him. They'd be his best buddies until he suddenly got into politics, and then they didn't like him. And all those years, all these kind of Democrats wanted money from him, which used to contribute to them. Now, this isn't me saying that you have to like one candidate or another or like. I think that people should like whoever they want to like. All I'm saying is that this kind of switch between kissing his ass, asking him for money, bringing him to appear in movies, making him this big celebrity, to making him the biggest enemy ever in the history of humanity, 24/7 for I don't know how many years. I think that there has to be some middle ground here. It can't be either or. And the shift in which they went and how obsessed they are, it's just kind of annoying.
Well, money is power, and I think they clearly saw him as like a money cow to fund whatever agenda or whatever that they wanted. And as soon as he was going against that, he was dead to them. It shows a shallow, self-centered outlook of the world.
Yeah, he was a means to an end. The connecting with him and being his quote unquote friend, right? And honestly, I'm sure he's seen that so much during his lifetime. He's probably very, very used to it. But yeah, like who you like, don't like you. I mean, as I've said before, as far as kind of personality wise and some of the stuff that he's done in his life, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, to be honest. Just genuinely in the kind of person he is and his personality and stuff, I find kind of grating sometimes. He's kind of a vulgar dude, but on the other hand, if you feel the same way about somebody else, or you feel differently about somebody else. I mean, I understand. We all have those feelings. We all have those reactions, but yeah, there's a lot more than just whether you feel like you want to sit down to have a beer with a dude. To deciding,
I
who you're
think
going
if
to
we
vote for in an
sat to
election.
have a beer with Donald Trump, if nothing else, he would entertain us.
Yeah, I'm
Even
sure.
even
I'm
if he'd
sure.
start doing the thing where he just like talks about a bunch of random crap for an hour, I think that we would kind of be amused. It's hard not to chuckle. Come
Yeah.
on, you'd chuckle.
Yeah, when it comes to politics and voting for candidates, choosing who's going to be in leadership and stuff, their personality just it has to take a back seat to their policies for me. But
yeah, Mark's 47 says personality or policies.
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think that there's, and I'm gradually thinking more and more that it's almost like he's a symbol for people that have sort of had it with this kind of mainstream establishment nonsense. Also, when it comes to censorship, and we talk a lot about how entertainment and how things have been affected. I'm not trying to convince anybody one way or another. I myself, like I say many times, I don't really love politics, but I will say that I can sort of see how he's become sort of a symbol for people of like fighting that kind of establishment, or fighting that kind of, I don't know if to call it woke mentality, overly politically correct, this kind of trying to shut you up all the time. And I think that at least some people have embraced him because of that. To me, it was very telling. I think this was a number of months ago where Jon Stewart returned to his thing. Unfortunately, I think he shouldn't have returned, but he returned every Monday. He does the Daily Show. I can't find the segment, but I'm sure it exists out there somewhere. And he said something along the lines of that a lot of people like Donald Trump because they've had it with all the woke stuff. And the fact that Jon Stewart said it was, to me, just really, he didn't use a different word. Stewart spoke about it like the way I would speak about it. And the fact that he did only highlights what an issue this has become. Meaning he didn't dance around it. So obvious at this point. People sometimes, if we say that word, which I don't like to use often, it's not a word that I love for several reasons. But if once in a while we use that word, people are like, "Oh, that just shows what type of person you are." And it's like that argument already goes out the window. Once you have Jon Stewart sitting around and using that term in the way that we use it or we understand it, and he's talking about people going to Trump because they've had it with woke or whatever, he was saying it in a way that was trying to highlight a different point altogether, but inadvertently he highlighted what I think is a major issue.
Yeah.
And even what we saw now at this rally with this Hinchcliffe guy, that he told some jokes and everybody got offended. Now, if you ask me,
everybody but Puerto Ricans got the joke.
I would hope so, but I'll tell you what. But what I think is, if you want to know my serious opinion, I think that guy Tony Hinchcliffe, he is sort of people liked him because there was some kind of roast of Tom Brady, and he was very kind of edgy with his jokes. I personally, I thought they were all right. But sometimes you see people that it almost feels like they're trying too hard to be edgy. And for me personally, maybe you like that Tony Hinchcliffe guy. He seems like a guy that tries a little too hard to push just the envelope a little more just for the sake of pushing it. The only thing I'll say is that if you want to do that, you should be, and don't hate me for it, you should be a bit funnier. What do I mean by that? If you ever do you remember Don Rickles?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Don Rickles would completely demolish people and make fun of.
He would eviscerate people.
Completely. There's an event once that he sits like in front of President Reagan or something, and he brings out Webster and tells like the most inappropriate jokes, and everybody is laughing, including Webster.
Yes.
Everybody is laughing their ass off. And there's really a genuine feel that everybody knows that everybody's laughing here, even though he's going full on insult, full on not politically correct. But he has so much energy and kind of excitement in doing it that you can't help but like the guy, even though he's being so inappropriate. Now, in the case of Tony Hinchcliffe, it's kind of this kind of I'm a douchey guy, but in a way that it doesn't have that same kind of charm. So when I looked at it, I thought to myself, it's not the matter of insulting or not insulting. It's just that I didn't think it was so funny. Which, if you're a guy that's trying to tell jokes and it somehow doesn't really make me like seriously laugh, you kind of just look like a jerk just because your jokes didn't land. Meaning, if they would have landed, he wouldn't have looked like a jerk, but they didn't land, so he kind of does. That's why Sarah Silverman always looks like she's annoying, like and saying bad things because none of her jokes are funny. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I have never liked her. I thought she was good at like voice acting for Wreck-It Ralph, but I've never thought she was funny.
Yeah. I've seen a few performances with her. Wreck-It Ralph would be one. I think I've seen her in a couple of other things. I thought, she did an okay job in that, whatever. But no, I've never actually thought her stand-up routine was actually funny.
Somebody is saying, does Price not know Kill Tony? The Tom Brady thing is a blip on the radar. You know what? I guess this guy has been off my radar. I remember seeing him in the Tom Brady thing. Hadn't really noticed him before. Even in the Tom Brady thing that people were so excited about it. Yeah, there were a few things that I kind of chuckled. But it's sort of a mean-spirited douchey comedy, and if you like that, that's good. But I mean, Andrew Dice Clay was douchey, but I still thought he was funny. This is just douchey, and I don't know. But if you like it, it's cool. I don't know if he was the perfect fit for this thing because all they keep doing from that same thing is that they keep playing that same soundbite without any context. I mean, he's a comedian. The fact that they keep saying, "Oh, this guy came out, he told jokes, and everybody was offended," it's so annoying. And I have some people in my family that maybe older people or whatever, that they still watch kind of the mainstream media news. So kind of in the corner of my eye when I was visiting them, I saw that they're watching, and you have like Lester Holt and all those people like, after this comment that's created a scandal for Trump, it's an October surprise. I'm like, what? This is your October surprise that a comedian told some jokes and you didn't like them? I mean, yes, I didn't think it was very funny, but I still understood he was a comedian. He was making fun of Jews, of blacks, Latinos. He was making fun of Trump. Yeah. So, you have to put it into context that this is a guy that just, he's trying to kind of be an equal opportunity offender and just talk trash about everybody. That's kind of his thing. You may not like that thing, but that they're trying to present this as an October surprise, and now they won't let it go. They're like, they think to themselves that maybe there's enough Puerto Ricans or whatever in Pennsylvania that if they continue to play this soundbite, then they won't know what the context is, and they'll think that Trump is an Islamophobe, which they were trying to push along with this rally anyways.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh man, yeah.
I guess to sum it up, if you ask me, is this a big deal? This guy and his thing? No, I think he just told some jokes. Do I think that if I was handling this rally, would I have selected this guy to come tell jokes? I wouldn't have. Not because I'm offended by him, not because I care, but because if you wanted, what'd you say?
Because he stinks.
No, it's not that he stinks. He's fine. I think he's not right for the forum. Whatever they were going for there, I don't think he was a good fit.
No, I don't think it was a good fit either. I was when I watched back and I said, because I don't just let sound bites tell the story, because they have been so deceptive with how they use those things, especially in the last 6-8 years. And so I like to go back and actually look at it myself and see what they had to say. And he was telling a bunch of jokes, and I just didn't. I was like, why is he even here? This just doesn't seem to fit like anything else that's going on.
He felt out of place. He felt out of place. This seemed like a thing where if you're and people are saying, "Oh, you don't know his comedy, you don't know him." Maybe I would know more about him. I would love everything he said, but I still think, just like I don't know much about him except for seeing him in that Tom Brady thing, maybe there's other people that aren't as familiar, and him just coming out and saying all this stuff without really people knowing this character or knowing anything about it, a lot of people, I think that it just didn't land, and it probably wasn't the best choice for that rally. So sometimes, this sounds weird, but sometimes if you have detractors, even though there's kind of a sneaky thing going on where they're trying to take it out of context and do all this kind of stuff, you also don't love giving your detractors ammo. And at the end of the day, this is an election and you want people to vote. You don't want some weirdos, not weirdos. You don't want some people, that are, maybe don't understand fully what's going on, and they watch the mainstream media and they just trust them and whatever. I don't want to say weirdo. That's not nice of me to say. There are people, especially sometimes even older people, that they watch the mainstream media, they see Lester Holt talking, and they think, well, if Lester Holt says it must be true. You don't want that before an election. That's all I'm saying. You don't need to give people ammo. But that's my personal opinion. On the flip side of it, I think that JD Vance, did you see what he answered when they asked him about it? Did you see his response?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I may have seen a couple somewhere, but yeah. What specific one were you talking? Were you thinking of?
Let's see. I want to just address this. Eco3 says, perhaps the joke didn't land with y'all. Cool, but there is a reason Tony was chosen.
Yeah.
Listen, he was chosen. He's popular, and people like him, and I'm totally cool with that. Sometimes you have somebody that maybe is funny and has a certain quirky thing about him, but that doesn't mean that that's perfect for every event. Personally, if you ask me, if you're looking at this from a business perspective, not like your political sentiments or anything like that. Business. You want to come out of this convention with a certain outcome. You probably don't want to give your detractors ammo to start using something like some soundbite over and over against you. It was like giving them ammo. I don't really know what other way to explain it, and just for no reason. I mean, it's not like people go to this rally and are expecting like some comedy show.
Yeah. We had somebody over on Rumble. We actually have a Rumble rant if you want to get to that one.
Oh
soon.
yeah,
But,
sure.
I was just going to say, it's like Zuni Midnighter says Tony Hinchcliffe was raunchy and probably shouldn't have been there, but the man is all about free speech, and this was his way to fight for the First Amendment, no matter how far you push it. So that was just one comment there, and I get that. I do. I understand.
That was a Rumble rant. I don't know. I can't.
Oh no, that wasn't the rant. That was just another one there. So the Rebel
okay,
rant is from Shumani Tatanka Awachi for $2. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Question: I've heard YouTube doesn't allow you to say the name of Angry Mustache Man, but Joe used his name a couple of times. Is Joe Rogan just too big to be demonetized?
In some of these bigger channels, I think that they maybe don't do that, but I don't know. I don't know that you can't say it. I feel like on a channel of the size that I have, it's best that I don't say it. But I'm not in the same position as Joe Rogan. I hope that one day that would be very nice if I was. Always a goal to aim for. But generally speaking, I think that most people try to steer away from certain terms because they don't want to cause any kind of trouble. So for their channel,
there are things that will definitely get you flagged, and that gets you at risk of having things demonetized and so on.
For sure. So yeah, I am. I try to steer away from that. But back to this whole thing with Vance is that I thought his response was good. I may try to find it in a second. I thought his response was perfect. And the one thing from this election that I have to say, that out of the four candidates, the person that sort of I didn't really know much about going into it, that actually I do have a better opinion about, is JD Vance. That guy, anytime he talks, anytime he's asked a question, even if he's put on the spot, he has pretty good ways of answering it. He feels like a guy that he doesn't have to start doing all these kind of weird whatever Kamala Harris does, where she does all these strange things that I don't even fully understand. And Wallace always looks like he's really surprised about everything. Like he's surprised he's even talking to you. And Trump just talks a lot. I feel like Vance, you ask him a question, he just answers quickly and just gets to the point.
And he doesn't lay down and take it either. If somebody is well, let's just lying or making stuff up or being really confrontational, he hits back. He doesn't just sit there. If you saw, did you see anything of the Jake Tapper interview that he did?
Remind me, what was that one?
He was with Jake Tapper on State of the Union on Sunday, and there were several times when he there were basically things said about Trump or things said about him or whatever, and he just came right back at him with like, yeah, well, you have taken all of these things out of context and all these different things that you said, the whole hoax with, fine people on both sides. You know very well that you took that completely out of context and it didn't mean anything what you tried to make it sound like. He roundly, said that the white supremacists and all these people that they were not okay with that he disavowed all of their actions. What he was saying about fine people on both sides had nothing to do with that. And I'm not going to put up with your trying to twist things and manipulate things. And that's why the American people are standing up and saying that we're following Trump, because they're tired of having people like you, people in the access media, trying to determine what the truth is when what they want to hear is from everyone. They want to hear what's actually happened. And so he really went after Jake Tapper. It was quite combative, to be honest. And he was right in everything he said. It was very, very
he's well spoken. He's well spoken. I actually feel, and again, stepping aside from politics, if I was now, if not now, I had a big company. Let's say I own General Motors for some reason, or I'm a large shareholder, and we need to appoint a CEO on the executive board of directors, and we have 4 interviews. Out of one of those 4 interviews, I have to choose one person to run General Motors or something like that. And each person walks in, Trump, Vance, Walz, and Kamala, they all do the interview. Honestly, if I had to choose one person to run the company, it would probably be Vance. He seems like a guy that you just put him in charge. He looks like a more executive type of guy. I don't know. I kind of, it sounds weird, but I kind of like that. But that's just my personal opinion. At the end of the day, he's running for vice president. Trump is running for president, and yeah, I didn't dislike Trump as kind of this celebrity billionaire builder guy. I think he's fine as that kind of celebrity. I personally, I kind of my own preference is that presidents also have this thing that they're a little more presidential, but.
Mm-hmm.
Again, at the end, people also have to make a decision looking at the options they have available, and people, are free to decide who they like better, or who is the lesser out of the 2 evils, or whatever you want to call it. But let's just say that these elections, I felt, really made it a bit tough for me. I feel like maybe years ago there would be a more kind of mainstream options for these type of politicians, whereas now just kind of a bonkers election.
Yeah,
but
pretty wild.
I'm of the opinion now, if you can get the job done, then I don't care anymore. Like, at least do me the favor of not running on a campaign where you actually talk about changing like the Constitution or anything fundamental about the country.
Eco3 says Vance is too authentic for C-suite. He feels like he could do it if he needed to. I don't know. I just told you what I felt when just not even politics, just as a person that looks like he can run something. I like his demeanor, and I like the way he approaches things.
Yeah. And I think
it's not to say that other candidates can't do stuff. That was just an impression that I got.
Yeah. I think there's a few people who've kind of touched on it in the chat, and I think one of the reasons that we're seeing so much energy on the right. Again, I'm not going to call who's going to win on.
It's tough. It's a close race.
I'm not going to call who's going to win. Who knows what's going to happen? But I will say that I think there's a reason that it feels like there's so much energy on Donald Trump's ticket, and I think it's because Trump and Vance feel very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
They feel genuine when they get up there and they talk. It sounds like they actually mean what they say. It doesn't sound like they're filtering it through 7 different committees and 2 different writers, and then making sure that it's approved by, this other committee over here. Like it sounds like they're just being themselves, and they're just telling us what they actually believe. Now, maybe we're being fooled. Maybe they're pulling one over on us, but it doesn't feel like that. And I think that's why so many people have gravitated over to that side. There's so much energy on that side, and I think that's why things like the Joe Rogan interview this past Friday really worked for that campaign, really worked for Donald Trump. So
Right, and that's why Vance is now heading to that same show. And basically, it seems like he kind of is capitalizing on the vacuum that Kamala Harris left by not showing up. He's like, I'll take the spot, I'll do it, and it's already becoming like a 1-2 punch. If you have Trump and then you have him, I mean, she could still try to come on his show and show up, but man, after having Trump and Vance on, she'd really have to deliver something special there for people to take her seriously and feel that she's authentic, something that until now she hasn't really been able to do, in my opinion.
And they're getting out there and going to speak to the actual people, and Joe Rogan is the people. He has how many millions of listeners every single show?
Yeah, and he has this kind of, again, Joe Rogan, like him, don't like him, but he's managed to build something there. He sits there, he has this thing that he does. People like talking to him. He's created that atmosphere, that setting. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to create it and do what he does, and I think that he does it well. I mean, you may not agree with everything he says, but I think that as an interviewer, podcaster, whatever you want to call it, his success speaks for itself. So,
well, just the whole way it's laid out. It's like, let's just have a 3-hour conversation, and it's like it's hard to not respect that. Like, even if you don't like him, then he's still just having a conversation.
Totally. Let me show you how he responded to that whole quote unquote October surprise with Puerto Rico and all that.
Oh, okay.
I've heard about the joke. I haven't actually seen the joke that you mentioned, but I think that it's telling that Kamala Harris's closing message is essentially that all of Donald Trump's voters are Nazis, and you should get really pissed off about a comedian telling a joke. That is not the message of a winning campaign. And most importantly, it's not the message of a person who's fit to be the president of the United States of America. And my own view on this is, look, again, I haven't seen the joke. Maybe it's a stupid racist joke, as you said. Maybe it's not. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the joke. But I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
I think everyone is.
And my response was, can we all just take a chill pill and take a joke from time to time? This is ridiculous. Our country... Our country was built by frontiersmen who conquered the wilderness. We are not going to restore the greatness of American civilization if we get offended at every little thing. Let's have a sense of humor and let's have a little fun and let's go win in 8 days. God bless you all. Thank you.
That was a pretty good answer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, not to mention, if you've seen any of the videos that have been going around on YouTube and on Instagram, on X, of the Puerto Ricans saying how it's completely not offensive and it's 100% true. The stuff that he was joking about, calling, it's a garbage island and whatever.
I mean, listen, he was joking about a lot of things there. It wasn't like he just said like nothing and then joked about Puerto Rico and then moved along. He had a lot of jokes, including, like I said, about Trump himself. It's not like the guy came to tell jokes. There's 2 things going on. One, we should be able to take some jokes and not be offended by everything, like Vance said, I think. But at the same time, if I had to choose my lineup for this rally, I probably wouldn't have brought this guy. Some people will say, it's a stroke of genius. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Personally, if you ask me, I wouldn't have brought him. But it is what it is. I mean, there is something to be said about freedom of speech. And I also think that a guy that does a comedy bit, even if it's a bit offensive, I don't think that's considered an October surprise like Lester Holt and his friends are talking about.
Yep. Not sure what to say after that. It's just, yeah. It's, I mean,
the dead man says, "So glad to see you're back on
Eeyore."
Cressy." What does he mean?
I think he's saying one of us sounds like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, which one? Is it Sean?
Probably.
Oh. Sean is Winnie the Pooh.
There's
Sean
worse
is
role
always
models.
excited. You were talking about enthusiasm and energy in that campaign, Professor R2. That's what Sean brings when he's on the Night Owl. You see
here.
Sean and he's like a ball of sunshine, happiness, full of energy. He's like the Energizer Bunny.
I've been away for like a week and a half. I haven't seen anything going on. It's been so nice.
By the way, somebody wrote here, the dead man wrote, "Rip Teri Garr," and Nistophobos wrote that as well.
Yep.
That is true. Teri Garr passed away. She was 79. It's not 20 years old, but somehow it seemed, maybe we're all getting older. It seemed like not too long ago she was in movies that I guess are have their place in cinema. Even Mr. Mom, I think Tootsie.
Young Frankenstein.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I will be doing my annual Halloween observance is sitting down and watching Young Frankenstein, and so I will be watching that in tribute to Teri Garr this year. It's absolutely one of my favorite films, and I sit down and watch that each year, that's such an amazing film. But yeah, she's done a ton of other work.
Was she in Close Encounters of the Third Kind or something like that?
Yes.
Right.
She's the wife.
She was also in the original TOS Star Trek.
Yes. I keep forgetting that, but yes, that is
what's
true.
What's his name? Yeah. Adam 12 or something? Adam.
I'm trying to remember I was trying to remember the name of the episode, and now Assignment Earth, I think, is the name of that one.
Yeah, but the guy has like a code name or something.
Oh, I'm embarrassed that I'm not coming up with it right off the top of my head.
It was just on the other day.
Yeah. Was it Seven? There's Mr. Seven.
Well, apparently she was also very sick. I guess she had MS. I didn't know any of that, but
Gary Seven.
Yeah.
It's still kind of surprising, but what can we do? I mean, at least she has some big roles that she was in movies, and those things will stay a staple of cinema. So generations to come will, well, I don't know the way the generations look now, but hopefully generations to come will still be able to appreciate her work.
Yeah, she had a lot of really interesting, sort of fun, offbeat roles that she played over the years, and 79. That's not a bad run. I mean, it feels young, compared to others, but I'm not sure what the cause of death was, but I think she had some issues with cancer.
I think she had MS, multiple sclerosis, or something.
Okay.
I think that's what they said, but I don't know. I'm trying to get to this thing because this is breaking news that Sophie Turner and Lucy Boynton testing for Lara Croft and Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Tomb series. Why are they still even doing this stupid Phoebe Waller-Bridge series at all?
I don't know.
She's got nothing.
Why won't they let this go? She already ruined Indiana Jones. What more do you need her to ruin? And plus, I don't know. Are these guys? I mean, I don't have anything against what's her name, Sophie Turner, in terms of she looks good enough. She looks good, but I don't really see Lara Croft here. I feel like maybe she's a weird activist today, and maybe she's even unlikable. But Angelina Jolie, when she played this role, that was good casting. These ladies don't generate that type of vibe. I also think that Alicia Vikander, whatever her name is, I don't hate her as an actress. I didn't love her as Lara Croft, and that movie that I watched with her, I didn't love it either. I thought it kind of annoyed me. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but I found it kind of annoying. And she's pretty, the actress. She is pretty, but sometimes there's a difference between being pretty and between having a little something more. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but a different kind of appeal.
She's not a bombshell,
right? Not a bombshell type of. She's a pretty woman, but you don't see her as that kind of bombshell, like you said, Sean. I agree with that. Whereas Angelina Jolie at that age was, I would say, a bombshell. These ladies here, I don't even know. They're not bad looking, but I don't think I really don't see bombshell here either. And it's almost by design. It's Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Why would they be bombshells? I'm surprised they're even women.
They want a modern version of Lara Croft where she's a twig.
An even more modern version than the modern version that they just modern versioned.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that there is nothing wrong with women looking nice and that men like them. I'm not saying, let's say, that Sydney Sweeney should have been this role, because I don't think she's a good fit for it necessarily, but at least she has that kind of appeal. At least there's something about her that's appealing. They should have been looking for something that has that type of appeal, rather than ladies that seem kind of snooty, or I don't really know how to explain it. I'm not saying that they are snooty. I don't really know them in person. Again, they don't look bad, but it's not the right thing. Not every role is right for every person. And by the way, just because we're looking at this, I guess this other headline came up.
They've got that resting judgment face.
Yeah, this kind of like, you've disappointed her for the last time.
Agreed.
Why didn't you take out the garbage face? And that's not what you're looking for in Lara Croft. You know what I mean? You want somebody that looks like mischievous and naughty and appealing at the same time.
Yeah, that one on the left would definitely yell at you for putting the dishes in the dishwasher wrong.
I guess Harris just had some kind of speech or something. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, but draws sharp contrast. This just came up while I was looking at the other article. Basically, she's saying we are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators. I mean, this whole holier than thou, whatever it is that I'm looking to say, I think that this is my personal opinion. I think if you want to run for office, it's best to focus on things that you want to do. If there's things that you think need to be done and you have a plan on how to do them, talk about that. If
they
all you
have
have
been doing that for like 8 years, they haven't been doing that.
That's another story, which also is a legitimate claim. But I'm saying, if all you're going to do in your campaign is say, well, this other guy, I really don't like him, and you shouldn't like him either, it just feels like it's not really giving people enough to work with. She could have done something else. This is what she could have done. Again, are you trying to be objective and just give my personal opinion? Let's say a number of months ago, her campaign comes to me with a suitcase with $1 million in unmarked bills and asks me to advise her what to do. I would say go out and say, like, take responsibility for a lot of things. Say, listen, until now I was sort of, I wasn't the president. I was trying to do a lot of things. Some things didn't work out the way I had hoped. Now, though, if I'm given the chance to really lead on my own, I have a lot of ideas how I want to do this. I want to do A, B, C, and D, and try to do something like that. At least take some responsibility. Explain that now, as you being in charge, you have like a lot of ideas that you've brought to the table, and talk about them. And don't keep cackling all the time and doing these weird things, acting so weird all the time and anxious and whatever. Just say what you're going to do. Take responsibility. Seem like you're a mature, reasonable person that has some ideas. And maybe people would have taken her more seriously. The fact that all I hear all day is how much she doesn't like Donald Trump, I don't think that's enough. Is that enough to run on that? Is that all she's appealing to? It's like, I'm not Trump. Is that the only thing she has?
That's what a lot of people will vote on.
I mean, I honestly, yeah, I think that is all she's got, because the only thing she can say is, I mean, they've asked her, what would you do differently than what, the last, 3.5
Well,
years?
here's the part. Here's the
And-
part that, in my opinion, she should have done. It may have been a tough thing to do, but this is what she should have done. Joe Biden, he's already, it's done. I mean, he has a number of months there, and maybe she doesn't want to have a bad rapport with him, but I would have distanced myself as much as I could, and I would have said, listen, I wasn't the president then. He was the president, and my job is to support the president in his decision-making. He made his decisions. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to the future where I get to make the decisions. Obviously, there's certain things that I would do differently, and I'm really excited at the opportunity that I can show how I would do things. At least say something like that. Say anything. Just the fact that she said there, nothing comes to mind. She kind of just seems...
Yeah.
I think that's optimistically not the point. I don't think she really wants to be there, and I don't think that she will. This, not to sound conspiratorial, I don't think she will make any decision if she is in that position.
No, we'll have the same decision makers we had while we had Joe Biden in office. There's other people making decisions and then having him sign off on things, and it would be basically the same with her. We do have a super chat over on YouTube. Istaphobos for $2. Member, thank you, Istaphobos. Says they are not physical actresses. They need dynamism. Talking about Sophie Turner and Lucy Boynton for the Lara Croft role. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, they're just not. We need somebody who's got that physicality and can really get out there and
back in the
do
day,
their own
like
stunts and stuff.
Back in the day, like it or not, you'd watch a TV show. You put on some TV show. Somebody like Pamela Anderson comes out. Carmen Electra. I don't know. There would be women that they're appealing women. You see them and you think, wow, she looks great. Not just in the kind of these Sophie Turner and the other one, like I said, not in the classic, like more snooty, more kind of like I said, disappointed what Sean was saying. You didn't put the dishes in the proper order in the dishwasher. You wanted to look in their eyes and see something kind of naughty and mischievous, and there were plenty of ladies, actresses, models that really had that vibe, and it was more common. These days, it's like if there's such an actress, the mainstream media doesn't even like it. It's like everybody gets really offended and upset if even such a woman exists.
Well, back in the day, they wanted you riveted to the screen. They didn't want you to have any opportunity to look away. So you put a hot actress in the role, and you've already got the audience's attention. Then add a good story, then add great music, and give them a good time, and they'll just shower you with money. But apparently nobody likes money anymore.
Oh, wait a second. There were some good things here. Hot Maroxter says, White, hey Whitey Bear, White, hey, I mean White Bear, Whitey, how's it going? I did that wrong, but you know what I meant.
There's a lot of white
and
going
Cannoli Sasquatch is here. So many great people are here, and I didn't even notice because I was rambling. Sorry, guys. Cannoli Sasquatch is here. Cannoli, if you don't know, Cannoli is a swell guy. I can't seem to get rid of... I feel like White Bear is now going to be stuck here forever. I can't get rid of his tweet for some reason. Of his thing. It won't remove it, like it's stuck now. I don't know what to do. I guess that's it. We're stuck with Whitey the whole time.
Oh no.
Vex Electronica is here, and she's awesome. Really, really happy to see her here. I would have highlighted her comment, but I guess I'll read it. She says, Kamala Harris makes me ashamed to be brown and a woman, even more than I already am. Also high price. Hey, Vex. Really nice to see everybody. I wonder how they all got here, really. Did somebody divert them? I don't know.
Well, it all starts when a man loves a woman, Price.
No, I know how they got here like that, but I was wondering. Sometimes Gooch sends people over. I don't know if it was his doing or they happen to just arrive here on their own. But in any case, I'm always happy to see them. And Gooch is a great guy. If Cannoli Sasquatch is a swell guy, Gooch is a great guy.
And I apologize for my voice. I have to keep my voice down for my wife is trying to sleep in the other room.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah, his wife is sleeping, so, you know. Oh, now everything is stuck. I feel like I can't.
Uh-oh.
Let me try to do this. I'm still stuck with Whitey Bear.
I forgot that your lips move. I've been away so long. It still makes me laugh.
Oh, here. Wait a second. Okay, we did it. Okay, so now I want to...
Kick Sean and it'll go away.
I removed Sean and all of our problems were gone.
All the problems were resolved.
Now, this is interesting here. Robert Downey Jr. issues warning for future exec who might use AI to recreate his likeness. My law firm will still be very active. Now, I don't know if you've seen this. I've seen it a number of times this week. First of all, you have something, the War over the Lord of the Rings animated thing that's going to be released. That one, they're saying that they've basically they're going to bring Christopher Lee back to life as Saruman. The way they're going to do it is that he once recorded stuff for the Lord of the Rings movies and they didn't use it, so they're going to sort of rehash it and incorporate it into that. Honestly, I never like that stuff. I don't love it.
Yeah. At least with that, you know, if it's an original recording that he did, if maybe they're not messing with it too much.
But they're trying to
and
just
they've got
shove
the
it
rights for it. You know,
it reminds me of Princess Leia in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And more, almost I also always think about that chef episode with South Park, that they just kind of build scenes around it, because obviously he didn't read the script for this movie they're doing, so they're just kind of putting him there. Is it even going to make any sense? They're going to sort of retrofit it just so that it works with their movie. I don't know how much I love that. And it almost feels just like a way to lure people in. It's like, yeah, this movie is kind of crap, and you're all kind of wary about it because it looks like it's going to be annoying with some weird girl bossy stuff. But look, we brought Christopher Lee, and it almost seems like a cheap gimmick, a trick, or something like that. In addition, I recently today saw that they were bringing back to life Peter Cushing. They want him to host a documentary about Hammer movies, Hammer Films, or whatever it's called. And he's going to be the host because they're going to just resurrect him using AI. So there'll be like an AI Cushing talking to the audience. Man, I don't know how much I love this. Robert Downey Jr. has had some strange takes lately. I don't think he should start criticizing Elon Musk or what he did the other day. But when it comes to him being against these studios taking his likeness and doing all this AI stuff, I can understand why he would feel that way.
Yeah, there was an interview with like Nicolas Cage seeing the Superman stuff for the Flash movie, and he was not happy about it, from what I remember.
About with who did they?
Nicolas Cage. They showed him when they like deepfaked
right.
him
I mean,
in the Superman thing, and he was like weirded out by it. So Robert Downey Jr. having an issue with it, I'm not surprised.
I mean, the thing is, in that movie, I saw The Flash, and man, when I saw that Christopher Reeve thing, I was so disappointed. I thought to myself, this looks so cheap and so, disrespectful. Maybe his family signed off on it. I don't really know. I assume they had to. But him standing there next to Helen Slater, it was so awful, and it was so poorly made. It looked awful. Maybe if it looked great, I would have said, well, they really did some great work here. That whole scene at the end with the Flash in that place with all those people around him, it couldn't have looked cheaper. I know the movie cost like $250 million to make, but honestly, I don't even know on what they spent the money on.
That's the CGI in that movie. I made the unenviable mistake of actually sitting down and watching that movie. I don't know why I did that to myself, but the CGI in that movie is just some of the worst I have ever seen. I cannot believe that was a big budget film. That CGI looked like 1990s low res, fuzzy, just garbage. It was bad. PS2 cutscene bad.
By the way, Tim Hayes says
dare you.
Price is an interesting character. Well, thank you. And then he wrote something else that was interesting. What was it? Price of Reason Live. I know about you from Midnight's Edge and CC Karaoke. Thank you. You not only watch me on Midnight's Edge, but you watch me singing, which is also really nice. I actually do that sometimes unexpectedly on this channel as well. But I usually do it secretly and in the middle of the night.
It's like a musical version of Tourette's. Just burst into song.
I guess. So, but what I will say is that it looks like, and also recently we saw something that I don't know if it was Disney or whoever were saying that they're going to be using more AI in their post-production. I really feel like, AI is becoming a stronger and more powerful tool for these companies. It makes sense that it would be. I just wonder to what extent they're going to continue to use it, and how much of these things
they can.
Yeah,
it'll be like 3 people in a room making a whole movie at some point.
You know what's good though? When it comes to that day, then we'll be able to make good movies too, because we won't need them anymore. Maybe we can do some cool stuff.
I hope so.
If the AI works so well.
I hope that they bury themselves and people realize they want stuff that is actually made by human beings again, and independence just like take over the world.
Right,
but my personal dream.
I agree.
Yeah, I think a lot of the AI stuff is going to be used kind of around the edges, kind of fill in here and there. I don't see it being used. If you've actually seen some of the video footage and stuff that it can create by itself, it's not great. But if you're using it to kind of fill in the edges, maybe add some elements to some shots, or maybe just sort of subtly alter some things here and there, and do that.
No,
in a more
what they're also
automated
doing,
fashion.
if let's say there's a scene and you need like a few extra frames, AI can fill those frames. Meaning,
exactly, yeah.
You needed a little more gap between two people talking or something like that. There are things that these tools probably are already being used, but yeah, I mean, right now it's not the main course yet.
But it's coming. Like, to think that it isn't is foolish. Like,
no, it probably will be there at some point.
Between paying 3 people to do a job and paying a whole studio and all those benefits and all those vacation days and all of that stuff, that 10 years ago, even or more, Bob Iger was saying, we're looking into more automation. And back then I was like, that sounds horrendous. And now it's here. And
I would only say, don't underestimate how expensive using these models is. The computing credits needed to use these models is very expensive, especially if you want really good results, and it's not getting any cheaper. So I don't know. We'll wait and see.
Istophobos says, when they started compositing actors into scenes when everyone was acting solo in a group scene, that's when it started really going downhill. Yeah, I think there's something nice when you watch older movies and you feel that these actors a lot of time really had to get to know each other, rehearse, have these kind of scenes that they're really planned, carefully crafted together, working together to bring that scene to life. Whereas today, it's like somebody said, and especially in these kind of bigger budget movies and these Marvel ones with all the pickups and reshoots and whatever, you have some guy just with some green screen in back of him saying a bunch of nonsense. I don't know who he's talking to. He probably doesn't even know who he's talking to. And a lot of times they just film a bunch of extra stuff and put it together kind of like a Frankenstein and a Frankenstein's monster of a movie in a editing room.
Sure.
And that's why a lot of these movies look the way they do. Rise of Skywalker is a movie that nobody knew what was going on there while they were filming it. And I even saw once an interview with J.J. Abrams that he basically was saying he already had ideas for certain action sequences, and before really even knowing what the movie would be about, he just kind of envisioned what these action sequences would look like, and he just started planning them and maybe even shooting them. I mean, how can you make a movie like that? You're making supposedly the final Star Wars movie in a Star Wars saga, and you don't even have a script. You don't know what you're doing, and you're just some overrated hack. How is that even possible? Sorry, I'm rambling now.
I
No,
think you answered your question.
Yeah.
Overrated hack.
Overrated hack. Yes. Oh God, JJ. Ugh.
No, but that's really how he filmed that movie. He really didn't know
Yeah,
what he
I
was
know.
doing. He just
I
like,
know.
let
Yeah.
me film it. Wouldn't it be cool? Today, I think it was Robot Head that he was making fun of somebody that was highlighting that scene where you know how you have those Disney shows and somebody's like, oh, this scene is, you know, gets me every time. And then you see like this thing that Kylo Ren and Rey are fighting and they accidentally hit a statue of Darth Vader and the statue falls to pieces.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that.
And I wrote in the in the comments to his thread to Robot Head, what I did was I wrote that basically the reason that thing exists is there's only one reason. J.J. Abrams sat there and said, wouldn't it be cool if they were fighting and they hit a statue of Darth Vader and it would fall apart?
Yeah.
And somebody said, but why would that even be there? He's like, why does it even matter? Wouldn't it look cool? And that's how it's in the movie.
The rotten Darth Vader head was my favorite character in that entire series.
It had some great performances.
I loved it. I was like,
But yeah,
so
there
cool.
was in that exchange on X, our friend Z3PO kicked in a great comment. He basically said that I love how the lightsabers smash the statue apart like it was baseball bats, exactly like a lightsaber wouldn't. You know, like a lightsaber would just cut through it, right? But instead, here it explodes into a million pieces, like it's been smashed with a bat. So yeah, it's just terrible.
By the way, I know this is a strange question, but didn't Luke burn that whole situation there with Vader? How did he even get that stupid mask, Kylo Ren?
Oh,
it's a good question for another time.
It's all sort of melted and stuff, so I guess you're supposed to assume
it was burned, and that's why it was melted.
Didn't get totally consumed in the fire, and
I'm cool with that,
but like, I don't think it would have burned at all. I don't think that it would have necessarily burned or been consumed. I don't think it needed to look like that. It was sort of stainless steel, right?
I was always wondering why or how he would know it was there, Kylo Ren.
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to find this one little pile of ashes on this gigantic planet or whatever? But of course, I guess maybe the Force called out to him and drew him.
And like, why would Luke tell anyone where he went to do that?
Exactly.
Because it would be like you would have an entire galaxy wanting to pee on the ashes. He's not going to tell people where that is.
Or crazy acolytes wanting to go and collect the ashes and do something with it, right? Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's nonsense. That whole trilogy is full of so much just absurdity. Like, it makes no sense.
Again, I forgive Rise of Skywalker to a certain degree because I knew there was nothing you could do. So like when people are like, it's terrible, JJ's an idiot, and I'm like, well, yeah. Did you see the last movie? There's nowhere you can go. Anything he puts out is going to be nonsense. So he is a hack and an idiot, but I had a certain amount of like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'll give you that. They didn't make it easy for him. Some people have the thought that maybe had they given him a chance to just do whatever trilogy he wanted from the beginning, maybe he could have done something, but I still think it would have been lame.
Oh yeah, totally. Are you there?
Am I there?
I'm here.
In and out. I don't know if it's me cutting in and out.
Yeah, I think it was you, Price.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So basically, I'm not saying he maybe would have been able to do just a very mediocre to poor trilogy, but somehow with the Last Jedi, it becomes an offensively bad trilogy. Maybe if he did all three movies and he had some kind of plan, it would have been, just mediocre.
It would have been very mediocre, but at least it would have been somewhat coherent, I think.
Maybe, because really he doesn't have any good ideas. He's not a very original guy. There aren't many things that you think, oh wow, J.J. Abrams. When you think of Spielberg, you think of some good movies that he's made. You think of E.T., you think of Counters of the Third Kind. You think
Indiana
of Jaws,
Jones.
Indiana Jones. You think of Jaws, Indiana Jones 2, Indiana Jones 3. Let's not talk about 4. But there's enough good movies that he's made that he's proven that he is a good filmmaker, and he knows what he's doing. When you think of him, you can think of some movies that were great. What do you think about when you think of J.J. Abrams? Nothing.
All the movies that he ripped off from Steven Spielberg.
He just rips off from Steven. He rips off from everywhere. He never has an original idea. They've given him all these franchises. He's run every single thing that he's been given into the ground. In Star Wars, you could say, well, there were, mitigating circumstances, but really, he's still not great. I mean, look what happened with Star Trek. Star Trek, that's on him. He made the first one. It was half passable. If you really think about it and really like what Star Trek is, it really doesn't stay true to that. But for some reason, I didn't hate that first movie when it came out. But already Star Trek Into Darkness, you can already see where this guy is in way over his head.
Oh, yeah. No, I did not like Star Trek 2009. There was a lot of things I did not like about it. First of all, I thought they should never have recast those characters anyway. But, just tell new stories. You don't have to go back and recast Kirk and Spock and McCoy. But there was a lot about it I didn't like. But admittedly, they did some fun stuff with it. It was all right. Into Darkness is an abomination. I hate that film.
That one exposed. If there's ever a movie that exposes what a hack J.J. Abrams is, it's that one. That's the type of movie that after that, you're not supposed to take him to direct Star Wars.
No. Oh, but he wanted Star Wars. That's why he made Star Trek, so he could get to do Star Wars. That's why he turned Star Trek into Star Wars, or at least tried to.
Eco3 says the only good thing about JJ Trek was the casting, and you know what? I tend to agree. I didn't mind the casting there. Yes, you're right. I didn't need to see new versions of the characters, but if you insisted, I didn't think his casting choices were bad. I think in general, J.J. Abrams, even in Force Awakens, didn't hate his casting choices necessarily. Especially, I think that Oscar Isaac and John Boyega are decent actors.
Oh yeah,
Daisy Ridley a little less, but I didn't hate her initially. I just think that the writing there was so poor, and especially as that trilogy went on, that there was nothing really to do with them. But if there was anything, if I was forced to give J.J. Abrams a compliment, and again, I would begrudgingly do this, I would say that when it comes to casting, maybe he's had a few things that he's done that have been okay. But aside from that, can't really say much about him. And Lost is overrated, and it's shit. And it's always been. It fooled a lot of people when it came out, and I'm so happy that I wasn't one of the people that it fooled. I probably said that before. So many people fell for it, and it's fine. I don't hold it against you if you watch it and you fell for it. I didn't fall for it, though. That's all I'm saying. And I'm proud of myself that I was able to sniff out the bullshit from that show. And I watched it briefly and stopped at an early point, knowing that it was a waste of my time. So proud of it. I probably mentioned that on the show 50 times, that I'm so proud that I didn't waste time and energy watching that crappy show. I'm so excited.
Not to derail your train of thought too much, but speaking of unoriginal hacks, I watched the director's cut of Rebel Moon for part 1.
Oh my god! What?
The director's cut. Why would you do such a thing to yourself?
Because I was like, if you're gonna put out 2 versions of a movie, I might as well watch the one that has all the stuff. Like, why wouldn't I watch everything that's supposed to be in it?
And how was it, by the way?
It was uninspired trash. It was so bad. The dialogue was expositionary. Is that a word? There's just a ton of exposition dialogue that was awful. I don't give a crap about any of the characters. It is Seven Samurai told for the millionth time again, and it's really bad. There's like even like the most offensive stuff to me was, you know what it is? It feels mean-spirited and unnecessarily gory and angry. throughout the whole thing, and yeah, it's totally uninspired. It's unoriginal, and even especially the designs of everything were annoying because like they're like, oh, here's a bounty hunter race, but they look like orcs. And then all of a sudden there's a hippogriff. And I'm like, what is happening?
But did you actually watch the first one? Because I'm really curious what the difference is between his director's cut and the non-director's cut. The regular one was kind of long and stretched out too much, and then was kind of annoying in parts. So I wonder, what could he already accomplish? More of that?
It is 3 hours and 24 minutes. I watched it over the course of 3 nights before bed.
Wow.
I was excited when I got to the point where I looked at the time and I was like, oh, good. We're at the point where it's now the normal length of a movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I intend to finish it. I will do part 2, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, I watched the originals, parts 1 and 2. I would never go back to watch the director's cuts.
Yeah, I couldn't do it either. I now that Sean mentions this, there's a weird curiosity.
Well, that's
to just figure out what he felt was so good that he had to put in here that the original one didn't have. Because man, those original ones.
Is there a part? I'm sorry, not to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Is there a part in the regular one where the main bad guy is naked in his quarters and basically is having sex with a tentacle monster?
Oh yeah, the tentacle porn thing.
I was like, this looks like the thing that kills Dirk the Daring in Dragon's Lair. What are we doing? Sorry,
there are some weird things that happen in that movie, but I'll tell you something that may surprise you. I think that both of these movies I gave something like, for me, 59 out of 100 is considered a failing grade, and I think that both these movies I gave it like a 60 out of 100. And the reason I did is that even though they were sort of bad movies, sometimes there's a part of me that enjoys watching kind of like bad sci-fi.
Well, that's the B-movie gene. When something's so bad, it's good.
Right. It had that feeling for me as like these kind of dumb B-movies, and I don't know why.
That's because it ripped off Battle Beyond the Planets from Roger Corman, which also did Seven Samurai.
It ripped off so many things, but sometimes, you watch, not anymore, I think, these days, but there was a time back in the day that maybe on one of those kind of HBOs or whatever, in the middle of the night, you have some kind of D movie that got lost in the midst of time, and it's something that you don't recognize the actors. Maybe it's some action movie, and it's all so terrible, and somehow there's a part of you that can't help but like it. And I feel the only difference is those movies are usually cheap. In this case, they gave Zack Snyder hundreds of millions of dollars, so it kind of feels weird that he couldn't put something together that's better than what he did. But in the sense of that kind of a pulpy, cheap, D-level movie, there's something about Rebel Moon and part 1 and 2 that gives me a little bit of that feeling. There were a few scenes that I burst out laughing that probably weren't supposed to be funny. But if a movie got that kind of reaction out of me, even if it didn't intend to, there's something about it that I still don't hate.
No, I don't like these.
There was a part.
It's Battle Beyond the Stars. I think I said it. Planets.
There was a scene where she remembers how she killed the princess, and there's a guy.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. So
that was the second one.
Don't spoil it for me. I need backstory at least to look forward to because there's nothing going on in this movie. And
all right, well, I won't spoil it, but I'll just say that scene had me laughing hysterically.
Oh, good.
Oh my god!
Like I was laughing, my stomach hurt. I was laughing like I was like kind of I was cackling. I feel like I'm like Kamala. I was cackling like Kamala in my living room watching it, and I probably wasn't supposed to be cackling at that point, but that's how funny it was. And a movie that can get that kind of reaction out of me, I have to give it a little bit of props. It was, I knew I was watching a train wreck, yet there was a part of me that enjoyed it.
I had to stop and watch that part over again. The first time I watched the movie, because I was like, did I just see that? Like, that made no sense. What is going on?
The what was it? Oh, the robot. I initially liked the robot, and then
Yeah.
he went into nature, and then for 3 hours, all he does is pontificate and run around weirdly in nature, and I'm like, this
Interesting.
was cool, but now it's
Okay,
getting
so
stupid and
in
ridiculous.
the original cut, Sean, you see him when she sits down with the girl sits down with the robot and
Yeah,
kind of talks to him, touches his face or whatever, gives him
yeah.
the little halo or whatever. Nothing, gone, disappears. You
Oh,
do not
he's
see him until the end of the movie.
oh,
Or well,
really?
you see, well, you see him again when he's there when he when they're taking out the soldiers and he fires the gun.
Oh,
And then he's
nice.
gone, and then you just see him at the end of the movie, and he's walking around with antlers on his head.
Yeah, he
No idea why. No,
he's
no
sitting
clue.
there, sitting there staring at a dead deer, and I guess he's contemplating nature. And then it cuts to he's wearing the antlers on his head and walking like through a field or whatever. There's a scene where he's examining a scarecrow in a field, and he takes the clothes off of it and puts it on his shoulders. And I can't remember if he's still thinking about his duty to the princess and stuff, but at some point, I'm like, I'm sick of this effing robot. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll let you know how the part 2 goes.
Yeah. Well, we have a super chat from the Dead Man. From the Dead Man member for $4.99. It says, Price, have you seen the new Universal animatronics with the Universal monsters? Have you seen any of this?
Ooh. Is Price gone?
Price is checked out. Hello, Price.
His Price
Okay.
fallen asleep.
Well, you know what? You and I are going to talk about this show. Have you seen this, Sean?
I have not. I have been away.
So these are this is about the new Universal animatronics, and there is a video. Let's see. Did I get this shared with audio? Let's find out.
I don't know if I'll be able to afford to go to this place, but this is the place I've been looking forward to.
I'm
opening.
definitely gonna make a trip. It's probably not gonna happen this year. Probably gonna have to wait till next year, but definitely gonna go check this out. Let's see. Can you hear this?
I am Dr.
Yes.
Victoria Frankenstein. Together, we will finish what my great-grandfather started. Show them.
Okay.
Monsters Unchained has the most technologically advanced animated figures that have ever been built
That's cool.
in the attraction.
These are monsters for the next generation of fans. We wanted to make sure that we kept everything that was familiar, kept everything that was the essence of these monsters. But we wanted to take it to another level. These monsters are scary.
These animated figures are moving faster than any figures we have built, and we have so many of them. We have 14 animated figures across this ride floor.
Oh, there he
And
is.
they
There's
are
my
visceral,
boy.
they are powerful, they are intense, and from a technical standpoint, they exceed beyond everyone's wildest expectations for what an animated figure can do.
Those are cool.
Yeah, those look
that was pretty
absolutely incredible. I have not seen animatronics that active and like they were saying, like how fast they move. Seeing like the you saw that like lurching, a jumping movement that the Wolfman does in that one. That's incredible. I mean, come on. The crap that you're seeing that Disney's making now, the stuff that they've got in Tiana's Bayou, it's basically just sort of rotating at the hips with some moving arms. Like that absolutely blows that away. So
Do they
That's
still
if it's
have
even
Pirates of
working.
the Caribbean in Disney?
yes, I do believe that's still there.
Do they have the dog that takes the keys?
Don't know. I have not been there in a very long time.
I haven't been there in many years, but as a kid, I really liked the dog taking the keys from the guy. I don't know what. I can't even fully remember, but I remember that was my favorite part of that ride. And I feel like for some reason, they probably deleted it just because I liked it.
Probably. You are a man, right?
I am, and then that's why they must have removed it.
I like to.
Aren't the pirates offensive? Isn't it like now offensive to have pirates or something?
Well, they've removed a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they took out like some of the parts where you see the pirates carrying winches around and so on. That might have implied there was something non-consensual there, so they wanted that. They had to take that out and various other things. But yeah, thank you again for the super chat, the Dead Man. Yeah, that's I had seen something about that earlier today, and that was real fun to show off there. So.
I like to think that they'll combine those robots with the Boston Dynamic ones, and then we'll have walking around the park robots. And then that makes me think of Itchy and Scratchy.
Yes, I was gonna say, just don't take any flash photography because then they're gonna go crazy and start killing us all.
Oh, I'm so glad you got that.
By the way, I wanted to show you something else. Unless, do you still want to do something with the animatronic thing?
Oh no! I just that was mentioned in the super chat from the Dead Man. So
I wanted to show something else, and I actually discussed it before, but I just want to quickly bring it up. Where is this? So. This thing that Quentin Tarantino praises Joker 2, says Joaquin Phoenix is one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. It's a FU to the comic book geeks in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that people are making this a little bit more of this endorsement than what it needs to be. Quentin Tarantino, when he explained why he liked Joker 2, he was basically saying that when he watched it, he understood that Todd Phillips walked up to everybody, gave them the middle finger, and made some movie that, even by Tarantino's own admission, doesn't even really work. But Tarantino, kind of as a filmmaker, when he sees a guy that just like does a middle finger and acts like a douche, that interests him, and like he thinks that's cool and that's fine. But he knows this movie is shit. It's not. I didn't gather from his thing that he really thinks it's great. The way it's being, presented in the media, and the way some people are understanding it, as if like he thinks this is the best movie he's ever seen. I think that Tarantino also is a guy that sometimes like these kind of D movies, or movies that are kind of weird and don't work or whatever. He's into that stuff. So everything he says about it, it's almost like he's taking a dump on it, but because it's so bad, it's almost like it's so bad and it's good for him. That's what it felt like to me. Like that as a quirky filmmaker, he could appreciate everything that didn't work about the movie.
Sure.
Yep. And of course, I mean, what better way to build a successful film than to tell your audience that would come to see it to go F themselves.
Let's see what he says. I really, really liked it. Really a lot. Like tremendously. And I went to see it expecting to be impressed by the filmmaking. But I thought it was going to be an arm's length intellectual exercise that ultimately I wouldn't think worked like a movie, but that I would appreciate it for what it is. And I'm just nihilistic enough to kind of enjoy a movie that doesn't quite work as a movie, or or that's like a big giant mess to some degree. So that to me, he understands
a little
this
backhanded.
Right. I mean, it's a very strange endorsement, and I didn't think it was didn't find it an intellectual exercise. I really got caught up into it. I really liked the musical sequences. I really got caught up. I thought the more banal the songs were, the better they were, and that's what people were saying, that they chose like the worst songs for it. But he's like, the worse they were, the better it was. I find myself listening to the lyrics of "For Once in My Life" in a way I never have before.
Yeah, because you can barely hear them.
Yeah, and oh, that's funny. They deleted this. He said that he saw it in an almost empty IMAX theater. Somewhere else, I saw that he said that he saw it in an empty IMAX theater in Tel Aviv. But I think that Variety, being the politically correct or whatever it is that they want to do, they didn't want to imply that he's sitting in Tel Aviv watching movies, which he is, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, like, he lives a lot of his time he actually spends there. But yeah, they don't want to say that in the press for whatever reasons.
Sure, they got some narrative somewhere going that they can contradict.
Now I'm just curious, because now I think it's like in a Mandela effect, because I feel like that's the way it was worded, and now like people are deleting that part. I have to figure this out. Sorry, guys. I know this is nitpicky and weird, but I have to find it.
No, man, sniff it out. It's your jam.
Okay. Let me see for a second. I'm gonna find it. Give me a second. Tell some jokes.
Well, some jokes. Speaking of jokes, BioWare is putting out a Dragon Age: The Veilguard this week, which is arriving to, well, a dull thud, I would say. Nobody seems to care about this game, and it looks like an absolute disaster. Right now, a lot of people are they're essentially saying that all of the early reviews that are out have been picked and chosen by the studio. Some early players that had some negative feedback were not chosen to get codes for the game to play it early so that they could review it. And so the only real reviewers that are getting copies of it are people who had positive things to say and were excited about all of the inclusion and other things that were part of the new game. While a lot of the other people who've now gotten a hold of it are essentially saying that it is it's a woke disaster, that it is just packed full of all kinds of modern day politics, gender politics, identity politics stuff that they've squeezed into every corner of the game where they can. They've not done a good job at maintaining the characters from game to game. That many of the characters either that were major characters become completely sidelined, or their storylines change, or they act differently than they did previously. There's a number of other issues that people have been having with it, and even so bad now that some people have felt they need to respond to this. Specifically, the game director who is working on the next chapter of Mass Effect, coming from the same studio, has been out there on some message boards and comments on the videos of this game and so on, basically saying that we are going to move forward, that mass, you don't need to worry about, because people are saying, oh no, BioWare's gone woke, BioWare's turned into this company that's going to make all this crap and nobody wants it, and it's just going to be this bait and switch. We're all going to think we're getting these classic games, and instead we're getting this mess that they made out of the Dragon Age game. And essentially, the developer, the head of Mass Effect, Michael Gamble, is his name. He says, a lot of people have been asking me about Mass Effect now that Veilguard reviews are out. Both are from the same studio, but Mass Effect is Mass Effect. How you bring a sci-fi RPG to life is different than other genres. And so essentially saying, oh, no, we're not going to be doing this the same way that they did Dragon Age. We're taking a different approach, saying that Mass Effect will maintain the mature tone of the original trilogy. Of course, I hope it maintains the tone of the original trilogy, and that it is not the disaster that the last Mass Effect game was. Mass Effect, was it Andromeda? Was that the name of it? It was awful game. So they tried to keep up the story and the serious tone and the sci-fi and everything, but it had a lot of bugs, issues in the game, and the story was just awful. So I'm hoping that they're planning to do something a little bit better. But he also went on to say in some comments, and I believe he was also talking to some people on X, saying, I'm not sure. Some people were saying that they felt like they went in the direction of Pixar with the Dragon Age game, that it was a little too childish, that the art style was a little too, sort of CGI cartoony. And he was replying to them saying, "I'm not sure that I would agree with the Pixar thing. Mass Effect is photorealistic, and it will be as long as I'm running it." So already people inside the studio,
Trying to
running the
brush this
social
off.
media,
Yeah.
trying to say we're gonna do things differently. We're gonna, don't worry about what you see over here with this other new game that just came out. I think knowing that it's gonna be a disaster.
You know what's funny, and I've
So
mentioned this a few times that I recently, now I feel like I'm a broken record, but that I went to the queer gaming panel
mhm.
at New York Comic Con. One of the things that they were proud of was they were talking about this upcoming Dragon Age game, and they were so excited about the way the way the bodies are and all that stuff.
Oh
Everything that
yes,
we think is crap, they were super excited about it.
yeah,
How great it is for representation and how great it is and all this stuff. And I was telling you that I was sitting in a room that wasn't very full, and I thought to myself, these people are delusional. And now the game comes out, and here it is. It's like it's exactly what I thought, that these guys, uh, they're such a small minority, and the fact that they want to control something that belongs to so many other people and sort of interrupt their experiences just so they can quote unquote feel represented, it's absurd. And I really think it's time that not only for gaming but in general that this stops, because none of these things, it's never worked, not in comics, not in games, not in entertainment. It's a losing strategy, I think.
yeah, yeah. And some of the early reviews that have been coming out, the early discussions of content in that game have been just laughable. Literally, we're talking about a fantasy world here. This is supposed to be a fantasy world where, people can use magic, and you've got characters who are part dragon, and all sorts of different powers and things that you can use. And you have a character that at one point in the game says, quote, "non-binary. I just said, and I'm going to use they instead of she from now on." Like outright tells you, "Hi, I'm going to identify as non-binary, and here's my pronouns."
Sounds like a
How
blast.
how is that fantasy?
I just want to say that the dead man left a strange comment here. Is this true that Mick Jagger did that with the frog?
What?
I would hope not. I know that Ozzy Osbourne Ozzy Osbourne ate a bat or something, but that thing with the frog that you said, supposedly that I don't know.
The Aussie that was supposedly biting the head off a bat or whatever.
I'm not sure if he ever did it, but you know what? If he did, it's sick and badass at the same time.
Oh God, what's wrong with you? Do it again.
So did I share this? I wanted to share this with you. I found. So this was the original quote, or at least how they explained it here. On top of all that, I thought it was really funny. Tarantino adding that he saw it in an almost empty IMAX theater in Tel Aviv, where he could laugh without bothering everybody. I know I'm laughing at scenes that other people wouldn't be laughing at. Interesting that by the time this got to Variety, they kind of dropped that part, but I'm sure they had their reasons.
Yikes. So yeah, this is a frame directly from the game, a choice that you can make with your character, where you can establish for your character in Dragon Age, so you can establish a transgender identity and unlock new dialogue options for future conversations. Is this
Once again, this is a face that is disappointed that you loaded the dishwasher wrong.
No, this is a face that's disappointed that them loaded it wrong.
Oh, it's just stunning.
If we're being accurate.
They genuinely believe that this was going to be like a well accepted game, that people were going to enjoy this game with all this modern identity politics stuff just crammed into it. It's baffling.
Do they think that now, or are they compensating? Someone in the chat was like, where is it? Where Empress NM said we're starting to get games that were begun in 2019, 2020 plus. So are they just like, oh crap, this took so long to make, the tide has turned, and now we have to compensate and try to make people believe this isn't a total crap show?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these people have been infiltrating these studios during that time. They've been getting in there. You know, the lead for this game is someone that during its development changed their gender and their pronouns and all of that stuff, right? So
I
the
just mean
they-
like, good.
yeah, they're inserting all of this stuff quite intentionally. And
I
I
just
don't
mean
know.
like the
Yeah.
like their response, their current responses, are they like the reaction to we can't change it now and it still has to make money, let's call everybody bigots?
Oh no
and
no no
make
no!
them
I think they are true believers.
Okay.
They are members of the cult. They honestly, genuinely believe, like that one nut job that was on Doctor Who this last season. Well, there were more than a few nut jobs, but specifically the one drag queen who was like, well, if you don't like all of these values that we're putting into this show, there you can just leave, because there's going to be 5 more people who love how fabulous we are, and they're going to come watch the show instead. And of course, that didn't happen.
The Kelly Sue DeConnick. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Yep. And that always works out so well. Yeah.
Super. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I know you didn't interrupt me. Maybe you were interrupting him.
No, it's fine.
Well, I was considering maybe showing you some stuff, but no, I can't find it now.
Some photographs?
No, at some point, I really should have done this. I've been so busy. I should have done like videos of me visiting New York Comic Con. There were some great moments there, actually. I showed you a few. I probably should have done a video about me going undercover to see that gaming panel. Would have been rather interesting.
Was that from all the when you were gonna interview people on camera as the?
No, I went to the recent New York Comic Con, and that's I did a little bit more of that. You know, I have an interview with Mark Guggenheim. You know who that is?
Does he own a museum?
No, he co-wrote the screenplay for Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh.
And also he was, I think, one of the producers or writers or whatever for Arrow on the CW and The Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have to say, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn. My conversation with him, kind of funny. Like, first of all, I interviewed him as Price of Reason. He's talking to Price of Reason, which is always fun. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good interview. A little interview. It's a mini intro, just a little interaction with him. But maybe when I get a chance. There were some parts that probably would have amused people there. I amused myself. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess.
I make myself laugh all the time, and my wife just doesn't get it.
Yeah, sometimes people don't get other people's humor. I can see that. Probably I would get your humor, but women, not to be mean, women especially, when it's stuff like more like, you know, geek, whatever you want to call it, stuff that we're into, I don't think they get the joke at all. Like, you know, you have to explain a lot of layers of a lot of different things to why it's actually funny, and sometimes it interests you, but it doesn't interest somebody else.
No doubt.
It's okay though. I mean, I'm sure there's things that she finds amusing or interesting, and you don't really understand it either.
I don't, but they're so weird it makes me laugh.
Somebody wrote here, Istophobos wrote, Price of Reason Live, did you see the disastrous Kamala appearance on Club Shay Shay? It was so bad. I don't think I saw that. Is that the Charlemagne one, or is that something else? I don't even know. What did she do in this? I know she went to some podcast with a lady that likes to talk about sex or something like that.
I don't think I saw
I
that
think
one.
I saw a clip of that actually, but
I did see some clips from the from that what is it? Call Her Daddy.
Call Her Daddy or
podcast.
something
I
like
did
that,
see some
yeah.
of that one, but the Club Shisha, I'm not. I don't think I've seen anything to do with that one. We do have another super chat from the Dead Man, member of our channel and frequent contributor. Thank you, the Dead Man, for $4.99. Says, Price, look up the Norm Macdonald joke about a frog going to a. I think he's saying going. It says caning a loan. I think he's talking about going to the bank to get a loan. I've seen that joke before. So yeah.
Remind me, what is that? I probably have seen it, but I don't
Norm
remember.
Macdonald joke of going to the frog. So the frog goes into a bank and he's requesting a loan, and it's a long drawn out thing that it comes back to a really funny punchline about all the different things that the frog does to try and get the loan.
I feel like I've heard this before, but I don't quite remember it. It's the podcast she did instead of Rogan. He's an ex-football player, Shannon Sharp. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't think it's as high profile as the Joe Rogan show. Maybe Hawaii dudes for Kamala watch that thing, but most regular dudes, I think, would prefer watching Joe Rogan. And it's not like I watch every episode of Joe Rogan, but if it's an interesting guest, I know he'll probably do at least a somewhat decent job as interviewing him.
Yeah, I was looking to see if I could find anything about that particular podcast.
It sounds familiar to me, but I don't really know beyond that what to say. Most of the places she arrives at, she seems kind of cringe to me. There have been a lot of weird things also. She changes her accent all the time. There's people like yelling in her like kind of heckling her in her crowd. People were booing, I guess, because Beyonce. She came to talk, she didn't perform. She just came to talk, and then she left. So many strange things.
Yeah, that was quite the thing over the weekend. You had that big rally for her where we filled this whole stadium with people. Yeah, they were all there because they were given not just given the impression, they were essentially told by different media that Beyonce was going to be performing at this rally, which of course she did not. She was up there for about 2 minutes reading some prepared stuff off of a teleprompter, and then she left, right? And so
when I vote for Kamala. See ya.
Yeah. And people were booing. They wanted her to be out there singing.
Uncanny.
All sorts of stuff. And then, of course, you had the rally in New York City at Madison Square Garden, just a bit later with Trump. And there was a lot of different people that were there. And, of course, we've already talked about the comedian that maybe didn't go over so well with some people, but some people enjoyed. But you had that room filled to capacity, and then claims of some 60 to 70,000 more people outside the arena in the streets wanting to get in. So huge numbers on both counts. One of them told people they were going to get a free Beyonce concert. And then the other one, it was just Trump
but
and his people.
At the end of the day, again, say what you want about Trump. You may like him, you may not like him. The people that go to his rallies, they really want to see him. They want to see him talking for hours, saying whatever he wants. People that come to see the Kamala's rallies, what they really want to see is something like a Beyonce. They think Bruce Springsteen is going to perform, maybe Usher. And personally, I don't really care about any of those. But I'm saying that that's how they're drawing them. Like, oh, you're going to get a free concert. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. And that's really the main thing that's driving them to these events. They don't care about Kamala. Like, they don't want to hear her talking. They don't care about her, what she has to say. She's not wowing them. They're not hanging by her every word. She doesn't have that kind of support.
It's a very funny statement. The people that like Kamala really want to come to see Beyonce.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had the rally at Madison Square Garden, and then the coverage of that, depending on the channel that you were watching, was appalling. If you saw, I don't know if you saw much about MSNBC's coverage. They were putting up chyrons at the bottom, saying, while Trump people are up there talking, saying Trump holds rally in Madison Square Garden, which hosted the Mustache Man's party in 1939, like immediately equating them holding this rally in Madison Square Garden, which, by the way, not even the same building that Madison Square Garden was in 1939. But anyway, because there was a rally here in 1939 of the Mustache Man's party, that it's the same thing because he's holding a rally here. Of course, completely ignoring the fact that that's the exact same building where Bill Clinton accepted the nomination for the Democratic Party back in the 1990s. And there's been any number of other rallies that have been held there since then. But no, we're going to just say, oh, look here, there was a rally back in 1939 with this party. And that's, the same party, that's here holding a rally today, even inserting footage into their coverage of that rally in 39 while they're covering the Trump rally. It was disgusting.
Accepting nominations back when they used to do nominations for their party.
The Democrat, of course. But there was, some of the coverage of that was just embarrassing. That they would.
I agree with you. I think that it's too much. It's just so draining all the time that they keep talking about it, the same thing over and over again. I think that whatever happened, in the 1930s in Germany is not a one-to-one of what's going on here. There's a lot of problems today in the world. It's a different time and place than what that was. And I think constantly trying to paint this group of people as that group of people is really draining. I think that now, like, Trump is doing it more, and he's like, oh, like, she's a fascist, whatever it is. But at this point, I mean, I can't even, what can I say? They've been saying about him for years, so he says that about her. I mean, doesn't matter at this point. But I just don't think that the conversation should ever been in the direction of what we're having now.
And they always act shocked whenever 3 different people try to take shots at him.
Yeah.
You scream about him being the end of the world and then act surprised.
So there's just a quick clip. I won't even turn the audio on, but here's a clip from MSNBC. You can see the chyron there that they have at the bottom. And then while they're sitting there talking about it, they cut to footage of the rally there in 1939. Of course, again, Madison Square Garden, but a totally different facility in 39 than what they have today. But they cut that footage in while they're covering Trump's rally. It was revolting. Yeah.
So, I don't like all of this. These are elections. You don't like a party. You don't like people. Just you say you don't like this. I don't believe in this thing.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been pointing out, like, you've gone to this well so much, calling this person, that person, this party, calling them Nazis over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It doesn't even have any impact anymore. We get it. We get it, right? Yeah, Murray saying in the chat, oh yeah, they said Bush was the mustache man, and then McCain was the mustache man, and then Romney was the mustache man, and everyone in the Republican Party is mustache man. It's just so overdone and tired. Yeah. Real quick, I want to point out here, Blade Nicotera, member of the channel, gifted 20 Price of Reason live memberships.
Wow, thank you, man. That's so
Amazing.
kind of you.
Awesome, Blade. Thank
Man,
you for that.
that's one of the nicest thing anybody has ever done on this channel. Thank you.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, enjoy those memberships out there, everybody. Enjoy all the amazing little emotes that you get with the channel.
I'm trying to see if I could find something that interview. Did you notice that the Concord studio shut down today? That Sony's Firewalk?
We could talk about that for a bit.
Yeah,
here.
I don't think we touched upon it. It's just the thing is that well, you go ahead, but we were talking about how we were wondering if they're going to try to still do something with a game or just completely write it off.
Yeah, that was there were some different looks at this, considerations, because thought one of the things was, well, they pulled this game and they gave everyone refunds, but they didn't really tell everyone what their plans were just yet. And there were even some indications. There were some people that said there were some indications that perhaps what they were planning to do with this is turn it into a free-to-play game. So try and get some money out of it by pivoting over it to be free-to-play. But of course, today we got the news. Sony, their PlayStation division, has shut down the developer, Firewalk Studios. There were a few statements that were made today. Basically, they shut down two different studios, Neon Koi and Firewalk. Firewalk was responsible for Concord. Neon Koi is a mobile developer. I could not find anything they ever actually made. At least not anything that was credited to them. So I'm not really sure what they made. It's probably why they're being shut down. It's because they were never productive and never made anything worthwhile. But some quotes from people at Sony Interactive Entertainment. Regarding Firewalk, as announced in early September, certain aspects of Concord were exceptional. Sure. But others did not land with enough players, and as a result, we took the game offline. We spent considerable time these past few months exploring all our options. After much thought, we have determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. So, yeah, they've decided they're not coming back. They're not going to try and relaunch it as some sort of free-to-play anything. Concord is toast, and good riddance. It was a mess full of all sorts of identity politics junk thrown in there, all sorts of trans politics. It was terrible. And people just didn't want that. They didn't want those things, right? All the characters had pronouns assigned to them. One of them was their pronouns were undecided. Like, okay. So, and then you, of course, had this. There's characters there. You had this big tank character, which was a woman and larger and beefier and less feminine than any other character in the game. And then, of course, you have this lump over here on the left. That's a dude. Yeah,
that didn't look very dude-ish, that guy.
What?
Is she like Andre the Giant? Does she have like a hyperactive gland?
I don't know. Tall. Yeah, she's enormous. She wears all this armor. No feminine characteristics to her whatsoever. But yeah,
awful.
This character was my favorite though. It's just this bloated, like fat, round dude. It was like it didn't even look like a man. You would have guessed that was the woman.
Looks like that one character from the High Republic.
There's another view of Daw, right?
Jeez.
That's supposed to be a guy. This big
Yeah, sure.
bloated thing. But yeah, no, this was a disaster from the start, and there was a lot of people that guessed that this was going to be the end of Firewalk Studios when this game was canceled. I mean, we're talking about a game that ended up costing Sony $400 million, and it was
What
on
an
the market
embarrassment.
10 days. 10 days.
It's one of the biggest failures of all time when it comes to video games, I think.
It's astounding. There's never been anything like it before.
No.
So
Never.
For years, I would hear about E.T. and being thrown in the dumpster, but I think that considering the $400 million here, this is a way bigger embarrassment.
they're a
Well, see-
video game studio, so I feel like they deserve some kind of achievement unlock for failing so spectacularly.
they need to get a special achievement. Yeah.
This is
But-
it has to go down as maybe the biggest failure of all time, no?
I can't think of anything else that's ever been quite such a resounding failure
I
as
mean,
this.
$400 million is a lot of money for a flop.
And the
of this magnitude.
all-time peak number of players on Steam was less than 700 people. That peak players that played this. That's astounding. Like, this was a massive failure of proportion that we've never seen. I mean, it's unprecedented. We're gonna go out. We're gonna sell a game. We have physical copies of the game being sold in stores. We have, this game. We're selling it online. We're giving it away to everybody, on PlayStation and everything. No, nobody showed up for it. Nobody wanted it. They didn't want to play it. There were people talking about how they wanted to go play. They wanted to try it out and play it, but there were so few people online playing this game. There were so few people around to join up in teams to play this game that they would sit in the waiting room for 20, 30 minutes to start a match. And so, I mean, these kind of games have to have a critical mass before they can even be viable. And just a total collapse of that game. And great, that's fine. People were not interested in the terrible characters designs. From what I understand, the gameplay itself was pretty generic. We're really not anything revolutionary in any way. And then you get all the identity politics stuff squeezed in there on top of it, and everyone just said no thanks. And
Was it just some like run and gun?
it was a
Fine.
team-based team-based shooter thing.
Don't have nearly enough of those in the world.
I think it was. Oh, exactly. That's the thing. Like it was already coming into a crowded market, one that's almost completely consumed with free-to-play titles.
Yeah.
And it had a big price tag. You had to pay for it. Of course, their whole marketing was, well, you're going to pay for it up front, but then we're going to give you all the content forever is going to be free, right? We're going to give you all the content, except for, of course, they're going to have DLC and all sorts of stuff eventually. But we're going to give you all the content, that goes with this for free, and there'll be new seasons, and this is going to get you like at least like 2 years worth of play with no additional, anything you have to pay for. That was their whole idea. You're gonna pay for it up front, then you don't have to do it anyway.
I hear stuff like that, and all I can think is, cool story, bro. I'm gonna go play Jack and Dax.
Yeah. So yeah, no, there's never. I can't think of anything ever that's been as incredible a failure as this. Not in the gaming industry anyway. I mean, sure, you had other titles that were total duds in the past. That's happened. I mean, there's always been games that landed on the scene and no one cared. But something like this, $400 million that they had been making this for like 8 years.
They kept trying to. It's a classic case of sending good money after bad, and a lot of it. I was telling you I know you're more savvy when it comes to modern day gaming, but on a business level, I feel like they wanted to continue to just push this along, not have it affect a certain fiscal year. The more they just tried to kick it along and pretend to be improving it or whatever, it was just delaying the inevitable. But somehow, because they were kicking it along for such a long time, the anticipation only grew, and also this feeling that it was going to be a big flop. But this is much bigger than I think anybody anticipated.
I'll tell you, here's my one hope from this. This was such a colossal failure. I mean, this had to have made a real impact on some of these executives in Sony. And I hope that this is going to be enough of a wake-up call that they start to realize they have to change directions here. That if they've got other titles that have this identity politics stuff in it, whatever, that there needs to be a pronouncement from them going out to their other studios to cut this crap right out of their games. And
I think
right
Sony
now.
doesn't have patience for stuff like this. They are a Japanese company originally, so there must be a few people that are Japanese somewhere that probably wouldn't like this. But in addition, even if you look at something like Ghostbusters 2016, they made a big mistake, and then they thought to themselves, how do we kind of try to course correct here? How do we correct this mistake? And I'm hoping that this will be the approach after seeing this kind of failure with $400 million. I have a feeling that somebody's going to want to correct this mistake.
Yeah, you hope that's the case.
You never know. These days, you never know, but you hope so.
Well, if Sony, online entertainment, all of that, if they were still primarily housed in Japan, and a lot of the people that they had in the higher ups in the business were in Japan, I would think that was more likely. Unfortunately, they've moved a whole lot of that over to the US. And so they have a lot more people in there who've probably been indoctrinated into a bunch of this garbage. And so, it makes me concerned that maybe they're not going to learn their lessons from this like they should. So.
I'm hopeful that they will. I'm hopeful that something will be learned here. By the way, I had a video that I wanted to, and I found something that I want to share with you. This is my conversation with Mark Guggenheim, the guy that I was telling you. He co-wrote the movie, the one starring Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern. And he was a writer and one of the producers, I think, of Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow on the CW. This is my 2-minute interview with him. Are you ready?
Roll it.
Yeah.
Sean, are you ready for this?
I'm with you.
Okay. Oh, wait a second. Let me see.
Oh, no, it's all coming apart at the seams.
No. Here. I found it. It's good. I'm gonna share it now. I hope this thing will.
And now.
I'm sharing now.
And,
Can you see it?
And now. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah.
Okay. Hope everybody's ready. Mark Guggenheim. Mark Guggenheim sounds familiar to me.
I used to do some Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
What'd you say?
Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
Ah, okay. Yes. Now I know that. It's a name that I knew I saw in a lot of places. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I try to get around.
You have. I just wasn't sure it was you, but now that you said it, I feel like when you watch those shows, your name comes up a lot, right?
I co-wrote the critically acclaimed Academy Award-winning The Green Lantern.
Ah. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I didn't hate it as much as some people do.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
I've seen worse movies over the years. It's like, if I can talk bluntly, when the Marvels came out, I thought of Green Lantern and I said, you know what? That wasn't such a bad movie.
There are certain movies that I watch, I go, and you gave me shit for Green Lantern?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if I'm being honest, if I had to make a decision now, watch either, what's it called? The Eternals. Captain Marvel, not Captain Marvel also, but the Marvels, and maybe Black Panther 2 or Green Lantern. I'm watching Green Lantern. Unironically. At least it has Ryan Reynolds. He tries his best there. It's all right. It's a mid-table movie.
There are much worse movies that came after.
I agree with you.
I think when we come a few years later, people are like, "Oh, that's fine."
The thing is, at the time, such memorable ones were coming out that one that was just all right, was getting maybe more crap than it should have been getting.
Yes, that's very true.
And in the landscape of the last 5 years, you shove that in between a Black Widow movie and the Eternals, people would be saying that you're a genius.
I always am missing people saying I'm a genius. Always this.
Sometimes timing is important, but you know what? I appreciate you and your honesty, and my viewers would appreciate that as well. Thank you.
There's a joke about all the praise, all the backhanded praise. The guy's face is red. It's a good interview. I like it.
Green Lantern hurt so much when that came out. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, so I love the comics. Love the different characters, at least the classic ones. Some of the newer ones that have introduced her.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great movie, but he was a good sport at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I also told him the truth. I told him that it's not that I think it's the best movie. I think that if you now force me to watch, the Eternals, the Marvels, or his Green Lantern movie, suddenly his Green Lantern movie seems just like a mediocre movie. Those movies are practically unwatchable. So that's where he somehow he shines if you compare him to these kind of big failures.
No, you were completely accurate. I watched Green Lantern for the first time 3 years ago, and I was like, I kind of enjoyed it. And then, I've had to sit through some of those Marvel movies you've mentioned, and I'm just like, no.
Thank you, Marla. Marla Sharendorf, a friend of the channel. She said it's a good interview. I appreciate that, Marla. I always like seeing Marla here. Marla is unique. She watches, but only very rarely does she send a comment in. But when she sends one, I know that she was getting something important off her mind. But I thought it was a good interview. I should interview everybody. I should be the Joe Rogan of conventions. What? That was a pretty cool conversation, I thought.
Yeah. Honestly, the biggest mistake they made with the Green Lantern movie was going too big with the villains. Bringing in all these different villains instead of just focusing on maybe just make it him and Sinestro, almost like a training day kind of movie, right? You go out, you're kind of learning the ropes. There's this other guy, he's kind of a rebel. Eventually you find out he's kind of a bad dude, and he's got his own way of doing things, and maybe you're not okay with that, and you do something with it. But they just had to try and do so much with it and get so big with the intergalactic threats and stuff, and it didn't work.
I think they did that type of story with one of the animated movies. I think it was First Flight. No, it worked. It was a good.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
movie.
Actually, I think I might have that on Blu-ray. Yeah, but trying to bring in the villain Parallax, who was the fear entity and everything. I know what they were going for, because having just recently been through all the stories that they had gone through in the DC universe with all the different spectrums and the different rings of different colors representing different emotions, and the Sinestro Corps War, and then they had Darkest Night, where they had all of the Black Lanterns that came out, that and so there was a lot of different stuff that they were playing with there, and I thought they were trying to introduce, and I think they just went too far in that first movie. If it had been a little bit more grounded, if they had focused on the characters and maybe a falling out between him and Sinestro or something, I think it would have made a much much more straightforward movie. I think it would have stuck the landing a lot better. Some of the effects were a little on the corny side, but how do you show off a character who can create just about anything he wants with his imagination, right? Like,
Yeah, man.
you know, it was gonna be a little strange.
I thought Ryan Reynolds was decent in it. I mean, he did his best with it. It wasn't unwatchable. It wasn't. I agree that at that time the MCU was at its peak. It was churning out like hit after hit, and a lot of good movies also. Even their, some of them may have been just okay, but even their just okay was above average. Green Lantern came out and it just felt like it was lackluster compared to what the MCU was doing at that very moment. But again, probably disappointment for people that like Green Lantern. Not a complete kind of disaster that we saw with the MCU later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I stand behind what I said to him. I think, kind of like Joe Rogan, like I'll keep circling back to me being the Joe Rogan of that convention. But I'm saying like I didn't sugarcoat it in the sense that, we both understood that it's not a great movie, but I think that we both also understood each other that maybe there's other movies that are worse than that movie, that it's just whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of okay.
It's kind of like when
the part that I said, you would have put it between those two movies, they would have said you're a genius.
It's kind of like back in the day, like the 2000s, the Charlie's Angels movies. I used to have such a high standard for movies that when I saw that was coming out, I was like, this looks so stupid. I am not watching this ever. And then I watched it like 5 years ago, and I'm like, these are the greatest movies ever. So it's like that your standards kind of, especially in current day, my standards have definitely laxed a lot. And I'm just looking to be entertained.
I want to say, and this is just my 2 cents, Istafobos said that's not why the movie was bad. The fake bullshit arc that they gave to Hal was why the movie wasn't good. I think that at the time, this is just my 2 cents, they were watching the kind of movies that were coming out of the MCU, and they were trying to make that kind of like that. And sometimes you try to do something, and it's not the right thing for the source material, and maybe that's where they went astray there. That they were trying to follow like the MCU formula in a situation that all they had to do was do something different and stand out on their own and follow their source material, not try to be like a clone of the MCU with Green Lantern. Just my 2 cents. I could be wrong, but that's what I think happened.
That's what their mistake was with the whole Zack Snyder thing. They were like, we're going to do the Justice League. And it's like, don't you want to start with like a one?
That was a series of so many mistakes one after the other that you're right, Sean, that's part of it. But initially what happened is that before all this Avengers stuff, they wanted to continue the Dark Knight trilogy situation. Initially, don't forget, they offered Christian Bale to be Batman opposite Henry Cavill, and he said no. And they apparently offered him $50 million, and he still said no. I have to say that Christian Bale, he understands a thing or two, and I guess at that point he collected his money and he didn't want to be typecast as just playing Batman, and he was out. And I
kind of like him.
Yeah, I kind of like him for it too. And then Cavill was brought in along with Zack Snyder and all that stuff to try to continue to create this kind of gritty Superman feel with sort of Zack Snyder taking on the role of Christopher Nolan. The problem is that Zack Snyder isn't the Christopher Nolan. It isn't a Christopher Nolan at all. He's not on that level. And I'll say that even Christopher Nolan, it's not that everybody loves his style of Batman movies. I personally like it, but even that is not going to satisfy everybody. Snyder, I think, understands even less about making movies. He has maybe a keen eye for visuals, but I think that he made so many mistakes with his movies. And then, along with the different regime changes in Warner Brothers, that Ann Sarnoff came in. She wanted to do like more like whatever woke stuff with like all the women are in charge and to get rid of Affleck and Cavill. So many weird things happened there that it's hard to even trace back all the mistakes that were made there, but there were a lot of them. And one of the biggest mistakes, as you said, Sean, is that when they suddenly saw the Avengers was making money, they're like, okay, let's expedite the process. Let's quickly introduce Batman to Superman. Let's then make an Avengers movie, Justice League movie, an Avengers type movie, and make a lot of money. And this rush to do all of this, along with Snyder, who's not the right man for the job anyways, that's why it all fell apart, I think.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're we're gonna wrap up in the next few minutes. Let me I'm just gonna go back and see some people here that were hanging out with us so I can say hi to them. Sean, you can tell people about your comic books in the here. We'll get to that in a second. How are your comics going?
Issue 2 just came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're really on top of that. I feel like you're really making it happen. I'm so happy for you, man.
It helps when you have someone that knows the printing process and layout and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they care enough to want to help out. So
that's awesome. Some of the people that were here with us today: M1 Shooter, Phantom Monk, Murrockstrom, Marks for 7, Dovahkiin, Jamalama, Dude Bro Seth 420, Phantom Monk, Jamalama, I said Tim Hayes, Fuxad, Murrockstra. Let me see if I forgot anybody. I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can. Deedle Leftist, I guess. Vincent Castor, Fuxad, Marks for 7, Sonia Lisette. I like Sonia. I mean, I like the other people, but I especially like Sonia. Eraserhead, The Wayfarer Project, Vincent Castor, Dude Brosev, I think I said, Phantom Outsider, Empress NM, Eco 3 had some good comments, Istophobos had some good comments, Jamalama, Schumann, Tatanko Owachi, thank you for the Rumble rant. The Dad Abides, Eraserhead, Caleb Levine, always good to see him here. Zunim Nifnider.
Did you just talk backwards?
What'd you say?
Did you just speak backwards?
No, that's his name, Zunim Nifter. Anyhow, nice to see you here. Raul Havana, Jonathan Conroy. Jonathan Conroy has a cool name. What's your name, sir? It's Jonathan Conroy. It sounds like a cool name.
Batman.
It sounds like a kind of Batman, like he'd have a double identity.
Well, Kevin Conroy, so he'd be like, "My dad."
Maybe that's why it's all in my mind. Yeah, that's probably it. I'm trying to quickly do this because Professor R2 here has to get up early in the morning. The dead man. Sorry, Professor. The Kid 57.
No,
Kivo 1961. White Bear. Cannoli Sasquatch, who's a swell guy. Murrockstra, Vex Electronica. Breeze Feats. Random Rants and more.
Wait, Breeze Feet were here?
Who's that?
Breeze Feet?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think.
Well, don't look at them before you go to bed, but look up some picture of Breeze Feet later on.
Oh, like Brie Larson? Don't do
Brie
that.
Larson.
I see. Okay, I got you. I know exactly what you mean. Well, at least, aside from her feet, she looks all right, I guess.
Yeah,
Random Rants and more. I feel like we're gradually repeating the people, but hopefully I remember Marla Sharondoff being here with her interesting comment. Malachi D. Wildman. And scrolling as fast as I can here.
Yeah, you're good.
First of all, I'm so grateful that so many people hang out with us. Joshua Calkins, the dead man, I think I said. And there's great people also, in different platforms that are hanging out with us, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
The way drunk something, drunken nun. Whew. Okay. Trying to go faster. Okay, I think I did it.
Yeah.
I went through everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this stream, I highly recommend that you, whatever platform you're on, you should like the stream. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel or not following this channel, wherever you're at, you should do it, especially on Rumble. Rumble is kind of our home base for these shows. It's a platform that promotes free speech, and we always really appreciate that. And if you're hanging out with us there, you should definitely, even if you're watching and you're not signed up, you should sign up for Rumble and then follow us so you can stay updated. We're here, of course, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:45 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday and Thursday. But in addition to liking and following this stream and wherever you're at, I also think you should follow these guys here. You have Professor R2. He has... can you guys... Professor, you can share your link on X or whatever it is that you want.
Sure.
Or Rumble, or whatever you want people to follow. And then Sean, he has his own comic that he has created. And you can order it at crumbscomics.com. I should be able to have a link for that as well. Hold on.
I threw one in the chat just a little bit ago.
Oh, great. So it's awesome if people would see that. Yeah, I see yours here. And if you throw in Sean's also, the people can go and get his comic. Sean is doing some great work in making his dreams come true with this comic of his. And I like his approach. He's not doing any kind of... First of all, not that I have anything against these kind of crowdsourcing or whatever it is, but he's doing it on such a kind of... doing it his own way. He's just creating the comics, and more people are discovering them and getting into them. And I really like his attitude and approach. It's very kind of low-key, but he's putting in the work, and he's doing a lot of great stuff. It's as if like the Big Lebowski were to market a comic that he made, but at the same time, the comic is really quality, so you should check it out. I mean the Big Lebowski in the best possible way, Sean. Didn't mean in a bad way. I just mean that, like, you're not shoving this down everybody's throat every second. You kind of just have your thing, and people are discovering it, and more are buying it, and want you to do, these kind of special variant covers for them, which I keep seeing you showing me that you do a lot of people kind of
sketch covers.
Yeah, that you're doing these kind of sketch covers. A lot of people are asking for it, and even commissioning and things like that. It's really cool to see how this thing is kind of growing in a grassroots way. And yeah, so you should check out what Professor R2 is doing on his channel and X and all that stuff. And you should check out what Sean is doing. And he also has his own YouTube channel, The Real Sean Crummel. And that's it. And yeah, follow, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff.
The Sean abides.
The Sean abides. And I guess... I think we kind of went over everything. Do you guys have anything more to say before we sign off?
No, not really. Just thanks to everybody for your support. Thanks to all those for your Rumble rants and your super chats and those 20 gifted memberships. Blade, Nick, and Tara, thank you. That's hugely generous.
One final question I want to address. Somebody wrote, is there going to be a Halloween stream? So I will say this. I'm not forcing anybody to do anything when it comes to other people, Professor R2, Sean, or anybody else on Halloween. I will say that I myself plan to be here. So I'm going to be here talking about whatever it is that's going on. I will be here, but some people have stuff to do with their families or things to do, and I understand that as well. It'll be... perhaps a more intimate engagement, but it'll still be an engagement. And so people, if they want to hang out next week at this time, I mean, when is Halloween again?
Thursday.
So if people on Thursday want to hang out, even though it's Halloween, I will be here doing something. So
he's gonna be doing his own rendition of the Monster Mash. So be here to listen to that.
Monster Mash.
It's gonna act out the entire War of the Worlds 1920s radio broadcast.
That sounds like a great idea. That's exactly
well, I plan to be here, so at least we'll have the two of us around. So
and Sean with his pumpkins in the background, he's welcome too.
We'll see what happens. Halloween's usually like a personal day. I don't like doing anything except watching
I understand.
movies and
Whatever
eating sandwiches.
works. We understand that. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything from anybody. I'm going to be here, but anybody that has some time that day and wants to join, whether it's panelists or chat members, you're all really welcome. And the dead man says, really brings the room together. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think that's it, and we should sign off and let Professor R2 get some rest because we haven't been letting him do that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. And we'll say that we were talking beforehand, and I think we are definitely planning to be here on election night next Tuesday.
We are definitely going to be here. That's probably going to be a special stream, maybe longer than usual, but we're definitely going to be here then. So if you're around, check that out as well.
Price is going to wear a tie.
Marla, hi again. Always great to see you here. I see you in the comments, and I'm always happy.
I really want to see Price in a tie and a jacket.
Well, that happens.
That happens.
Oh my god! It looks like a cape.
So, I guess it is a cape.
He's got his Halloween costume on.
All right,
that's my Halloween costume. Yeah, so
like Emperor of the Universe.
I am. So, so we'll see you guys soon.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Night, everyone.